Here, here we go.
Baby, it's cold outside. What do we
No,
think?
not oh
It's too
not
much snow?
yeah. Too much snow. You can kind of see it out here a little bit if you're watching the YouTube, but
I review
it's
it like IGN. Too much water, too much cold, too much snow.
7.8 out of 10. That's right. Too much
I mean,
snow.
I would put this 0 for 0. I am so sick of the snow, dude. I am just completely over it. But yeah, how many inches did you guys get? Do you know?
I think I looked online. It was like 8 to 12. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah, we got a good snow about a month ago. Uh, they canceled work. All the highways were shut down, the whole business, and I shoveled for 6 hours that day. That
Oof.
sucked. Not fun. But yeah, this is Stick Drift. We're cold. We're hunkered down in our little Eskimo huts.
But we're still
In our
drifting.
yeah, we're still drifting. We
Yeah,
are we are fishing on this ice lake that we call podcasting, and we're ready to talk to you about some fun stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, just the snow. Sick of it. I want to be done with it. I'm ready. I hate to say this because I don't like summer. I want summer to come around just for like a day, just to thaw stuff out, and they can go back to being cold but no snow. That's kind of where I'm at.
Fair
But
enough. Yeah.
yeah, we we're spinning up again for another year, and you dropped a new project, dude. Talk about it. What happened today?
Oh yeah. You mean the Dread backlog?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
our first
Yeah.
entry in the, I don't know what we're a retrospective backlog sort
Yeah,
of
we're still figuring
format
out
for
the
our
naming, I
podcast.
guess, but
Yeah,
yeah, I got
yeah.
to talk about Drakengard 3. I've
Hmm.
spun about it a little bit on the podcast before, so I won't
Yeah.
go into too much detail because you can check out all my thoughts on our first dreaded backlog. So
Hmm.
definitely check that out because I enjoyed talking about It's a game that I really like to talk about. Um, I don't know why I like talking about it. I just do. So um,
Yeah, it's a tight, crisp 45. So get in there and get while the getting's good. It's getting some good views on it so far. I like that.
ooh,
Pretty good
really
for us.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. I've been looking at that. So,
It's good to hear.
um, yeah,
Thank you,
yeah. So
drifters.
I
Thank you.
yes, thank you for whoever's listening. I
Yeah.
really appreciate. We're doing this for fun. We're just kind of
Mm.
really like stretching our legs. We hope people listen, but it would like we would like it to be the goal one day, but we're just kind of getting used to the whole thing. So we just enjoy carving out some time talking in general. So, but yeah, like new creative direction in some ways for this new project. It's really interesting. I'm hoping to do a little bit of the same with the Dreaded Backlog coming up. It's going to take a while because the investment for the project is a little longer than a single game. I'm looking at the Doom series,
Hmm.
kind of writ large, in preparation for Doom: The Dark Ages in May, and I'm about halfway through all the main titles. So I'm not including like the Nokia cell phone version of Doom or anything like that. I'm talking about Doom 1, 2, 3, 64, the reboot, and then Eternal and its DLC. So I'll be working on that too. But yeah, we're gonna try to do these as much as we possibly can because we always play a lot of old stuff. Um, so yeah, I heard about half of it. I was mentioning to Noah before we started that I had a child that expelled some things on my couch. She barfed all over my leather couch, and I was home all day because of it. So I heard about half of it. I was gonna hear the rest at work, and then I was like, well, not doing that anymore. So
That's all right.
yeah, yeah, it was good though. From what I hear, I will finish it for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, yeah, let's talk about the thing you brought up most recently, the magic set. I want you to
Oh yeah,
really
sure.
get
We
down in
can.
this and sell it to me. I want to do this
All
first.
right.
I know we have this
Yeah.
lined up in a certain way, but I want to
Let's
start with
no.
this.
Let's just dive right into it. So yeah. Over this last week, they announced that they're like some of the cards for the upcoming Final Fantasy crossover with Magic: The Gathering, and yeah, I mean it's shaping up to be a pretty awesome crossover. It seems like pretty much they want to try and represent every single game pretty much from the looks of it. They
At least a few eras, if not every game. Yeah.
well, yeah, because the cards that they've announced so far are just like a preview of like the full thing,
Mm.
and They, even with this preview, they're jumping around between lots of different games. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up having at least a couple cards for every single mainline game in the series. So they've got a lot of 14 representation, which is kind of surprising. 14 doesn't usually see a whole lot of representation in I guess merchandising for Final Fantasy, at least in my experience. So I go to a lot of anime conventions and things, and I hardly ever see 14 at those kinds of places. So
yeah.
yeah, and it's good to see 6 represented as well so much that it gets like its own thing, because like that SNES era is also kind of usually like left in the dust. So
yeah. Until recently, honestly, I mean, the new Pixel remasters are doing a really good job, kind of, showing a new generation a version of those games that is, proper for human consumption. And 6 has always been in good shape. They didn't do much to it aside from change, some of the fonts and
Sure.
the pixel models, and like they did change some stuff. But like the ones that get the heavy remakes were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 usually. They're pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, the representation for 6 specifically, like there's a Terra card that I saw that was really cool.
Yeah, they're doing a whole set, a whole like commander set of 100 cards, all revolving around Terra. So they'll probably all revolve around 6 or like games in that era at the very least. So
Yeah, get Kefka in there. I would love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
Kefka's sick.
they've already shown off Cecil as a card. He's looking pretty awesome. So
Yeah, he's the main pro tag from 4.
yep. They
The
got
Dragoon, baby.
Dark Knight.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I was thinking of, yeah, not Dark Knight. I'm thinking of there's a moment in, what is it, 16, where there's a moment with the Dragoon, and I'm just picturing that because they do a whole cinematic where he jumps up in the air. I was like, oh, that looks like Cecil.
Sure,
But no,
sure.
you're right.
Yeah.
It's been forever since I played 4, so I'm replaying them. So
Well, yeah,
apologies.
four is interesting too. They actually show off like the big, I guess, sort of like progression of 4 of Cecil becoming a paladin in his card. So,
Oh
it's
yeah,
pretty
I saw
cool.
that.
It's
That is a
two-sided
cool card.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and of course you got your Final Fantasy 7 representation in there. Of course you gotta have that.
Oh yeah.
Heavily represented. Really good cloud card that I saw. They had some Final Fantasy 1 stuff with Garland. He looks like he wants to kill Chaos or maybe become it. So his
Yeah,
two-sided
a little
card
bit of
is
both,
becoming
yeah.
Chaos. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really sick. So like the structure of Magic is just like anything goes, right?
Nowadays, yeah. I mean, any like
Yeah.
franchise they want to bring in there, they'll just do it. So, it's interesting. I haven't played.
Is
For
there
a while.
like a lore and world and characters to Magic?
Oh yeah,
Or...
It's
Okay,
got a
I have
deep
no idea,
storied
so-
lore. Yeah, the lore of Magic's actually really impressive and interesting. I really enjoy just like the core lore of it, but I don't mind bringing in like the universes beyond necessarily. Some of them are a bit
that what they
silly,
call it?
like
Okay.
SpongeBob, but yeah,
Really?
they've got an upcoming one for SpongeBob. So
Oh my god! So how do they explain this like in universe? Is
They
that it's
don't.
multiverse stuff? Oh, wow.
They just don't. They just shove
What a
the cards
choice.
in there and don't. So
They've always been here. SpongeBob's always been here,
yeah,
casting
he's-
whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to see that set. So is it just SpongeBob in a Magic art style, or is it just SpongeBob?
Just
like a
SpongeBob in the
Nickelodeon?
SpongeBob art style, yes.
That is
Yes.
that's so odd. What a
but-
choice.
Yeah, no. There's also like a few reprints of like older Magic cards that are in like a new Final Fantasy-ish shell. They like to do that a lot with their crossovers, so we'll expect
very
to see a lot of that. They just like reprint Magic cards, but give them like a Final Fantasy art style or a Final Fantasy name. So
That's awesome.
But then they've got a new card
like
that's pretty interesting. That a lot of the Magic community is freaking out about. That it's a cactus, right? Jumbo.
Yeah,
Cactuar.
the Cactuar. Yeah.
And when it attacks, it gets plus 9,999 attack. Those are Yu-Gi-Oh numbers. Magic numbers is like 10 damage plus like
Well,
5 damage.
yeah, it's Final Fantasy numbers.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, honestly,
this is doing Final Fantasy numbers or Yu-Gi-Oh numbers. This isn't doing Magic numbers of damage. So people are freaking out because they've never seen these kinds of numbers printed on a card. But it's functionally the same as a lot of different win cons in Magic the Gathering. They're just not... People just are resistant to change, as always. So I find it interesting and funny, so... But yeah, it's,
all the art looks great.
Yeah, the art looks great. I think this has something for everyone, even not Final Fantasy fans. Like, just the artwork has such a varied style. You got your anime cards, but then you got like your more realistic looking cards. So it's got such a varied art style. There's so many different like fantasy worlds inside of Final Fantasy that there really is something for everyone in this set, I think, and just in the franchise in general. Like, there's so many different settings for Final Fantasy that somebody's bound to find their fantasy setting that they enjoy. So, But,
it seems like my gateway. If I'm going to get into Magic, it's going to be here.
Fair enough.
To be honest with you,
not good place to start for sure. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting set. So,
yeah. So okay, so a couple questions. First, when is this releasing? Do you know?
June. It's going to be around like June 15th ish, somewhere around there. So,
in between our birthdays, that's great.
Yeah.
10 days removed from each. So okay, that's the first question. Second question: what's the best way to play the new Magic stuff? Is it just tabletop simulator or whatever you play? What do you normally do the new Magic stuff through?
Yeah, so I'll usually do it at a local card shop or on tabletop simulator. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. That's
awesome. I got quite a few different commander decks. I own about like 6 or 7. So.
Okay.
100.
Yeah, I would love to learn. I would love to learn sometime. I'm threatening to build this PC this year. We'll see if it happens, but I am putting back money to do it now. So when I do, that would be the time to probably hook up with you and do that. So yeah, Magic, it is beckoning to me. I am very interested because of Final Fantasy. I'm a Final Fantasy
That's
mark,
what Universes Beyond is all about. It's about bringing in new players. So I'm all here for it. I like to see new people enjoy the game with their favorite franchises. So even if they don't make sense sometimes, I mean, whatever brings people into the game is, I think it's all right. Got to keep the game afloat somehow.
Is it the Fortnite of TCGs, do you think?
It is. It really is. Okay. And I think that's fine. I think that it's fine. I'm not going to say it's my favorite that it's the Fortnite of TCGs, but I think it's a good place for it to be in order to not struggle like some other TCGs seem to do. So.
Yeah. I guess, staying on, unless you had anything else to talk about this set in particular, staying on the TCG tip, I figured we would just talk about Pokemon since the new cards showed up. And as our interest wanes, we might not do this, but I'm sure you're playing still. I'm not even playing. I'm just collecting at this point. I don't even play. If I have my packs, I open them. What's the name of the 2 sets? I forget what they are, but they're Pokemon Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah.
But what's the names?
I honestly couldn't tell you. Yeah, but
it's those themed. Yeah,
they're Palkia and Dialga themed sets. I can tell you that much. And they're pretty great. I think like from a meta of the game standpoint, there's a little bit of pushback because the new Magnezone card is actually really strong, mainly because the Magnezone or not Magnezone, sorry, Magneton, right? He can generate his own energy, and so you can essentially put the Magnezone line into any deck in the game and they'll function without having to dedicate any energy slots to them.
Because
the Magneton, the Magneton generates his own energy, and so he just sits on the back row, generates his energy, and then when he has enough energy, he switches to the Magnezone, and then you can just like hit for 110 on anything. And so it's a really, really, really strong card that a lot of decks are running. So
Yeah, you almost have to get somebody in the back line to just knock it out
yep,
before it
yep.
can do anything. That's
There,
tough.
there's ways to deal with it, but it's definitely it's definitely shaken up the meta in both good and bad ways. I think that the main issue is honestly that we don't have more cards like that fit into any deck, and so people are just seeing that card a lot because it can fit into everything so well.
Gotcha.
I think if they just print more cards that are like that, it won't be as big of a deal. But for now, it's kind of everywhere. So, but the set is Space Time Smackdown. That's what
That's what it was. Yes, Space Time Smackdown with both Dialga and Palkia.
I mean, I've had good pulls this set, which is
I really haven't. I feel like I have not gotten. I think I've gotten maybe one EX.
yeah.
But also, I'm not pulling as much as like I feel like my interest is waning on it, to be honest with you, because I'm just not into Diamond and Pearl that much.
Sure.
I will get the decks because I've gotten them for every deck so far.
Really?
And I have like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I have every card ever so far. When it comes to the main decks,
Sure.
I don't have like a bunch of golds or whatever.
Sure.
I don't even think I've pulled one gold.
Oh, I haven't pulled one. I've been playing forever.
We're in a TCG chat from time to time, and one of the guys in there, Nathan, he pulled like 4, and I'm like, your luck
4
is ridiculous.
golds?
Something like that.
Oh
It's
my
pretty
gosh.
crazy, yeah. And he's like, oh, I just,
I don't
I
think I saw
just
that.
battle all the time. I'm like, dude, shut up.
I battle all the time as well.
I
I've
don't
gotten
know,
every
I just-
single. I've completed every single event like for the medals to gold.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, every single one.
Yeah, I noticed your metal badges are like crazy. I keep
Yeah,
looking. I'm like,
I
man,
have every
he is-
single one of them. Yep. I
Yeah.
play it regularly.
Yeah, so-
I enjoy battling a lot in the game. It's probably my favorite TCG in terms of mechanics.
Yeah, it's fun, and I like the way they simplified it from the actual card game.
Yeah.
And did different
It
changes.
feels
and
really
tweaks.
good to play just on the go. Just like has enough strategy to where you get to think a little bit about it, but there's not too much going on to where you can't just like do it while doing other things. So
And that's what makes it so good in terms of portability. It's
Yep.
one-handed. The
Yeah.
game is a one-handed game.
yeah,
And that's the issue I have with, like, say, Balatro on mobile. That game would be so good if it was one-handed, but it is
Right.
not.
right.
And it's not TCG either. It's just a card game. But
Sure.
having that one hand free to do whatever, it's kind of huge.
Yeah.
You could just do it while you eat or whatever. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, just a little TCG check-in for the most part. Like, my interest isn't waning on it. I feel like I'm just taking my time. I don't feel the urge to kind of go like, oh, I need to open every day.
Sure.
If I forget, I forget. Not a
Yeah,
huge deal.
no, I've had plenty of days where I've forgotten too. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not hooked to the thing or anything, but
Yeah,
It-
it
it's
was
just
hot and
when
heavy
I-
though. Yeah.
yeah, when I remember it, I do it, and when there's an event, then I go through the event. I make some time to go through the event, but it's definitely not something that I'm daily battling in anymore.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's something I definitely enjoy, but I don't
Yeah.
like look forward to it as much as I used to. Like
Right.
when we got that thing, it was just like, oh my god, this is like fire.
Yeah.
We gotta tame this thing.
Yeah.
It was really fun initially, kind of figuring out how it ticked for sure.
Yeah, I think once they
But,
release like a generation that you're more interested in, you'll probably be
Yeah. Oh
hooked
yeah.
to it again. I like Gen 4 quite a bit, so I don't
Mhm.
mind Gen 4. It's not my favorite by any means, but I like it quite a bit. So
Yeah. And we will also be talking about more Pokemon later because of the Dex run we're trying to do.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll get into it at some point too. But TCG check-in both ways, basically. I guess before I want to get into like the new game that I played, I want to talk about a couple things, kind of like I've watched. I don't know if you've watched it either. You've played the Monster Hunter beta, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think you've talked about it here. So
okay.
the game is coming out in what, like 2 weeks, 8 days,
Yeah,
something like
something
that. It's
crazy,
like
yeah.
really close. Yeah, I bought it last night, so
I'm
I'm
playing
going to
it
get it and play it.
religiously when it comes out. Yeah, we'll have to
Same,
try and get
so-
into a lobby with each other or something.
Yeah, we'll have to. I don't know how that works. Like, I don't know if it's crossplay
It
or not.
is.
It's
Yeah, they
It
did
is?
the whole
Okay,
crossplay
thank God.
test. I think so.
Okay, let's hope, because
during
I
the
would
beta,
love to
yeah.
play that with you.
Yeah.
Because if we do that, we would probably be playing nightly if we're not podcasting.
Yeah.
So I am ready to get hot and heavy into
Yeah.
Monster Hunter again. But yeah, I guess we will be talking about this next week, I'm sure, at some point, or next podcast. So what's your thoughts on the beta? And this was a few weeks ago, right? Was this the end of the year, or was this mid-January? I forget.
The second beta.
Yeah, well, you played both. I've only played the first. I don't think you talked
Okay,
about the
yeah.
second beta you joined.
Yeah, the first beta was a while back. The second beta was just like a few weeks ago. So
Okay. I couldn't remember because I wasn't
yeah.
part of it. So
it was a lot of fun. They added a couple new monsters to mess around with. They've got Gypceros back. That makes me happy. I'm a big fan of Gypceros.
yeah, me too.
And they've also got let you battle against the flagship. I've forgotten his name now. But he's cool. They only gave you like 20 minutes to battle him, and he's like got like high rank stats with your like level 1 equipment. So like it's not really a fight that's like designed for you to like just win. I was only doing it with 2 different. I did it with like 2 different guys, but like one of them like at a time, so it's like a 2-man attack on him. And so I was able to get him really close to death one time, and that was because I was using greatsword, and because I love greatsword, and the wound system is really interesting. And
yeah, that's new for this game.
Yes, and the monster had a wound that wouldn't go away.
Oh, wow.
And so I think it was a bug. It was probably a bug. But I wasn't going to let that opportunity pass by. So I just took my greatsword and I kept sliding it across that wound. Just sliding it across that wound with the wound punish. And I was doing, I kid you not, probably 1,000 damage to the thing.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Per like him like moving places. Like I do 1,000 damage, then he'd move somewhere. I do 1,000 damage, then he'd move somewhere.
Wow. So for people that don't know, Monster Hunter low damage when you attack. So this new wound system is pretty vital to this new game because it's basically like for skilled play, it is rewarding you. For targeting certain limbs and certain open gaping wounds, right? And it's giving you multipliers of damage because of it. The other games are not like that as much.
No.
So
it's making you become a lot more accurate with your weapon attacks. And that is something that Greatsword can be very good for, so I'm really excited to utilize Greatsword more in the full game. But I'll be using Greatsword and Hunting Horn. Those are my 2 mains. I love Hunting Horn, especially in a group, a full party, because you just buff the whole party, provide that just passive value while you're doing your stuns with the Hunting Horn. So I mean, it's just a blast. But
Insect Glaive for me. I'm an Insect Glaive boy. Always have been since the 3DS.
You gonna pick up the secondary? Because you can swap between 2 now freely.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't. I feel like I really need to like get in the lab and see what I like. I might try out Greatsword. I'm kind of. I want a projectile weapon or something. I might use the gun. I don't know.
The bow's
I
pretty
really
fun.
don't know.
Bow is really.
I hear
fun.
the bow is good.
Yep. Bow is really good for blade masters getting into gunners. So.
Okay. Yeah, I love the Insect Glaive. I just love being acrobatic in those games because, at least with World and Rise, they encourage you to mount the beasts, and it's so easy with the glaive, and it just makes hunts so short, especially if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
It really helps. And you can also like in the other games anyway, you can use the glaive to kind of like, it's hard to explain, but you kind of like somersault with your blade across the beast, and you kind of do like multipliers of damage. It's really fun, and it lets you cut off like specific parts of the animal too. Like
Insect
specifically,
Glaive is always welcome because you can hit the like back of the monster.
Yes,
and that's a hard place to reach for like any other weapon. So breaking the
and there's different
back of a monster is
there's different materials for where you're hitting on a monster too, and those are really hard to hit. So I'm always able to get the rare materials at least up there, which is really nice. But yeah, I'm trying to stay as like away from it as I can because I know I'm going to play so much of it.
Yep.
I kind of want to see what it's got to offer me. Um, the one thing I'll say is I don't know how much story they're going to do. Like it just feels like they're really doubling
Yeah.
down on that.
That's okay with me. I think I'm okay not having too much story in a Monster
Yeah, I'm
Hunter
with you
for
there.
once.
Yeah.
I think I think Rise had an interesting enough story. World had an interesting enough story, but
Hmm.
I'd say probably 4 Ultimate was the last one that had really like a captivating story. So, um,
Okay.
but
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically what is that? It comes out on Friday next week.
okay,
I want to say. I think it's
yeah,
like Thursday
sounds
night or
right.
something our time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will be downloading that and playing
Oh
that.
yeah.
I've seen a couple people play the beta. I've tried to like I said, stay away from it.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the real question: is what secondary will I be using? Because I do want to start learning a new weapon. So that's the thing about Monster Hunter is, like you said, you have your two sets. You've played a bunch of other weapons, I'm sure, but
Oh
those are the
yeah.
two that you've really caught on to. It's like, you learn it. You learn a
Yeah.
certain weapon,
I've played a
and
lot
what
of
you
bow
like.
as well. Bow is something I really enjoy, but I just
Hmm.
don't see myself running both a blade master weapon and a gunner weapon right now. I think I'd
Okay,
rather just have 2 blade master weapons right now personally. So
gotcha. And from all the ways I've seen it, at least in the beta, with all the either if it's an NPC or a friend joining you, it seems like they might have gotten the lobby stuff right this time. Hopefully, if the queue times are good, it
mhm.
feels like it could be okay because, I mentioned it, excuse me, in the beta talk the first time that we kind of both hopped in. They had the you know, like an NPC there if a person wasn't,
Yeah.
and it kind of swapped as people dropped in and out, and it's pretty seamless that way. But you're never alone. Like that's
Mhm.
the real thing. So it's a matter of kind of opening your party to people or not, and it kind of doesn't matter really when it comes to like having people there because they're
Yeah.
always going to have those slots filled, right?
Yeah, it feels a lot more like an MMO than any
Yeah,
other
totally.
Monster Hunter
Yeah,
game.
very like a
So
very tight
and that's
knit
kind of what
MMO.
they
Yeah.
wanted for the game from the beginning. So I think they have the technology to realize their vision for the game
Mhm.
series. So I think this
Yeah,
could
for sure.
be like the pinnacle of the series if they do everything right. So
And it's interesting they didn't call it World 2, I mean,
I like the
branding's
name
important in a
Wilds. I
game.
think
I do
Wilds is a
too.
good name for it.
I do too, but like I think most gamers are intelligent, especially if you're playing Monster Hunter, right?
Hmm.
And Capcom Monster Hunter World is their best-selling game. It's
Yeah.
sold about 25 million copies, 26, I
Yeah.
think. It's still rising.
Well,
Those games are always on sale.
yeah. I mean,
And
it reached out
yeah,
to
go
like
ahead.
the casual audience as well. So like that was like the main thing with
Yeah,
World. It was
that was
just
the real thing.
they got
Yeah.
all the systems just right to appeal to that casual audience while not like completely alienating the older audience. Like there's some things I don't like about World that I prefer in the older games, but I'm certainly fine with like picking up and playing World. Like it's a fine game to me. So
Yeah, and it's really just like they translated kind of like I don't even know how you would say it. It was kind of like arcane elements. They like translated it in a way that communicated better to newer players, right?
yeah,
Like they were able to keep their old ideas but translate them in a way where new people could understand them, which I really liked. I think the thing that sucks though is the queue system in World specifically. It's terrible. It was always bad, at least I
right.
think.
Yeah, no, it
Um,
was horrible. And that like
yeah.
the with the cutscenes, if you had those,
Hmm.
like you would desync from your party
Yes,
members, and it was
that
just a
too, and
mess.
story progression. You had to be at
Yep.
certain points to join people, and
Yeah.
it blows. It
Yeah, it
blows
was
in World.
horrible. I think
Hmm.
they'll learn from their mistakes. Rise worked great for
Yeah,
multiplayer.
Rise was not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
totally fine.
I
I
think they've
I
learned
queued
from
with
their
plenty of
mistakes.
randos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um, I'll find out what my second weapon will be, and hopefully I can work with you on it because you have more extensive knowledge of Monster Hunter than I have.
Sure.
Um, I played the most Monster Hunter I played is probably either with you on the 3DS. I
Yeah.
think what did we play?
4
Four
ultimate,
Ultimate,
yeah.
four Ultimate. Either that or probably Rise. I played a fair
Hmm.
amount of Rise. World I kind of petered out on because of the multiplayer stuff. It really dampened my enjoyment of it because I had people that were always willing to play it,
Yep.
but I was always behind them because they worked different times than I did, honestly. So they were further along than I were, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to do this
Yeah.
because I don't getting too invested in this. I don't have the time. I just didn't have the time. And I was also playing Destiny at that point, and that was like the game for me back when that
That's
came
a
out.
full time job. Any kind of MMO
Yeah,
like that is a full time
right,
job.
right.
So.
But yeah, it's going to be awesome. Really, what I was kind of coming back to is them not calling it, Monster Hunter World was interesting. They could have called it Monster Hunter World 2 because they always number their games. But calling it Wilds is interesting, and I think people are intelligent enough to know that it is a sequel to World. I think so.
They haven't numbered their games since 4. 4 was the last numbered entry.
They do have a history of it, though. That's what I mean. Like, they
yeah.
have a precedent, so...
Then they had Generations, then they had World, and then they had Rise, so...
Right, and I prefer the game industry as a whole is a subtitle, heavy, setting. With rare exception, like for instance, you call something Spider-Man 2, but you have an offshoot called Spider-Man Miles Morales, right? Mm-hmm. But you want to keep people focused on the right things, so you usually put a number or a subtitle. So I like the name Wilds; it's nice. I like the mount. The Sacred's really cool. I miss the Palamute though. I love the Palamute from Rise. I just love him. But it's going to be something I fall in love with too. With the new mounts.
I didn't like the Palamute only because I had to sacrifice my Palico for that, and I like having the cat. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I liked the act of running around with the Palamute.
Sure.
Well, especially from World.
Yeah,
like World to Rise is crazy.
World, I had to use Lance in. There was no other weapon for me in World. Simply because you could actually sprint with the Lance.
Yeah, just the traversing.
Yes.
And World is so big,
yes.
It can take you multiple minutes to get across different zones.
I don't even like Lance that much, but I needed a weapon that would get me from point A to point B because I was in college and I didn't have a lot of time and I wanted to get the hunts done quickly, so...
Yeah, and it's hard to do that because it's so expansive and there's a lot of levels to the geometry too, so you're having to go up vines and stuff. And the thing about Monster Hunter is when you've attacked a monster, pressured them, and damaged them, once they hit a certain damage phase, they will move to a different area and then convalesce a little bit and kind of heal up a little bit. Yep. So if you take too long, they will gain a certain amount of health back. So in World, it was a major detriment if you did not know where you were going and how to get there. And Rise makes it better because it kind of flattened it out because it started as a Switch game, so there's not as much. The world is not as expansive, but the traversal, like I feel like Wilds is like the perfect marriage of those two. I think it'll be a lot better.
Really streamlines things because it has the secret, but it also lets you autopilot to the monster, so you're never gonna get lost. Yeah. You're never gonna not be able to find the monster because
that's huge.
You can just autopilot to it through your map, so your secret will just take you there. So
it's really awesome. It's lots of the Souls games did this too, where it is just they had the right ideas. It's just about translating those ideas in a consumable way. And Monster Hunter is getting better and better at that as their audience gets bigger. Right?
Yeah.
Really excited about it.
Speaking of Souls games, do we want to jump right into the next sort of FromSoft entry?
Yeah,
talk about
please.
That a little bit?
I want to know what you think about this because I have some thoughts, man.
Okay, so I was not a believer, right? Saw it revealed at Game Awards. I'm like, what is this garbage? This is horrible. They're Fortnite-ifying the Souls franchise. I mean, it's over for FromSoft. They're done,
Yeah. But
then I watched. I actually watched Iron Pineapple's video on playing through the technical tester, whatever they had like an event that a bunch of
it's like a network test
influencers went to, like they went to an actual like event in Vegas and sat down.
Well, they had an event. They had an event, and then they also had an invite only like stress test recently.
Okay,
so that they had like two things kind of.
Yeah, but when I heard him talking about it with like the footage of the game in the background, he explained all the mechanics of it. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I'm actually on board for this. I would like to play this game. So I'm sold. This is the game that I didn't know that I wanted, but it makes sense to me now that that I will like this game, because my biggest complaint with Elden Ring was that everything was too spread out for me. I
Yeah.
like to get into the action. I know where all the items are in the Dark Souls game, so I can just run from point A to point B and get right back into a boss fight, right? Because that's what you play those games for, is for the boss fights. You don't play them to run around in an open world, you know? That's not how I
Unless
play
you're
them,
playing
at
it for the
least.
first time, yeah. Unless
Sure,
you've
yeah.
never gone through them, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I enjoy playing those boss fights. I don't really enjoy running around the map too much. And so Night Rain is like just basically a boss rush. Like
Pretty
you
much,
run
yeah.
around and you do your your Fortnite looting and whatnot, but it's mostly just
Yeah.
focused on quick action, getting you straight to the more interesting things. And I think the co-op aspect too is really going to be a game changer for this game. I think I'll be more inclined to utilize all the systems in the game,
Mhm.
whereas with Elden Ring, I have a bit of that old school Souls in me, where like no summons, no this,
Yeah, sure.
no that, and
Mhm.
but with a game like Night Rain, it's built around those systems so much, so integrated, that it's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna play it with friends. Of course I'm gonna play this co-op. That's what the game's built around. So
Yeah, it's the Fortnitification of it in some ways, and literally where there is literally a ring kind of closing around you.
yeah,
That is the most obvious version of it.
but let's address the elephant in the room. Do you think there's gonna be a Elden Pass?
Oh, almost certainly. I mean,
You
they are
think they're gonna
just
do an Elden Pass?
almost certainly.
I
This
I
is a
don't
live
believe in
service
the
game.
I don't believe in the Elden Pass. I don't think it'll happen.
I think it'll be gussied up in a different way. I think there will be NPCs in the world that might lead you there, and people will have to find out where to do these things.
Hmm.
But I'm sure they will add it in their sort of flavor, their sort of language.
Now,
I'm of multiple minds about this game. I really am.
okay.
But do you have any points to finish before I really launch into it?
Oh,
Because
I
I've
was
really
just gonna say they have two versions of the game. They have the base game, it's $40, and then they have the deluxe edition, which has a few other things, but then it also comes with the next batch of DLC support, which is gonna have like more characters, more encounters, more environments, and that's for $55. So I think I'm just gonna go all in
okay.
on the deluxe version to get that DLC, because I'm sold on the game. I like I said, I don't think they're gonna be heavily monetizing this thing. I would be very surprised if they
not
monetize
heavily.
it
Yeah.
beyond just like selling DLC. I would be very surprised. I'm trusting FromSoft on this one. So
It's okay. So the DLC. They are basically selling you portions of the game, like to have access to. Is that what you're saying? Like
no,
the option to have new bosses and stuff, or it's not
so
getting.
that
guess.
option, right, is for, it's just like pre-ordering that DLC that is already in development, basically.
So you're going to have to buy something at some point to add to the experience.
Yes.
That's weird because it is a service game. I mean, it's a single player service game, is what it is. I mean, that's really what it feels like.
Well, no, it's a multiplayer, sir. It's a like a
Well, yeah,
three-player co-op.
yeah, okay. So, yeah, it can be either, right? It can.
It can be either, but I think it's
one or
mostly built
three.
around that three-player
It
co-op.
feels inspired by service games. That's what it feels like.
Inspired by, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's so I understand like you're wanting to defend it in some sort of way. I'm not trying to like cast aspersions at it necessarily, but I'm of multiple minds about this thing.
Okay.
So where to start? So kind of like the structure of it is a Fortnite like where you are literally dropping from the sky. There are a
Yes.
numbered amount of days to get to the end of a match. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
You are, basically killing trash mobs throughout the game, and killing small mini bosses to kind of level at your points of grace, and getting loot along the way, like you mentioned, with different classes that you can kind of
Yep.
spec
Same
into,
tiers
whatever
as
you want to do.
Fortnite. You have the white to orange So
Yeah,
white,
yeah, they
blue,
literally have
purple,
color coded
orange. Yep.
loot, all that stuff. The difference between like a Fortnite or whatever, it is a class based
Mm-hmm.
one of these. Like there are different, like there's the Wilder, there's the whatever, the bird guy,
Duchess,
yeah, the Duchess, yeah, and
the
they all spec into different play
spellcaster.
styles. Yeah,
Yeah.
spellcaster, and they have different play styles. So if they just introduce them like Souls like templates, I think that's interesting. I just don't know where the inspiration for this comes, I guess, really. Like, what is the genus of this idea? Is there, because they're definitely trying to get a foothold in this sort of market. They definitely are, because that's what this game is, right? It's not story based at all. It's Elden Ring flavored service game. I mean, it really is. I don't know what they're going to do with it, and I don't know whose idea it was. Like, this doesn't feel like a Miyazaki thing.
No,
Like,
it's
he didn't
not.
do.
It's actually Junya Ishizaki, and
Okay.
he's actually been working on the series since Dark Souls 1, but he has
Okay.
not been able to direct a game because they've all been directed by Miyazaki
Yeah.
so far. But I actually think it's good to let new directors take the reins and try different things, experiment with the with the FromSoft formula a little bit. And this might
Yeah.
be an interesting, shake up for the formula that they can use for future games. So,
And they mentioned that too. I mean, he's mentioned that in interviews Miyazaki has about raising a roster of talent that can not supplant him, but do other stuff than so he wouldn't be as relied on as heavily, right?
yeah.
Because he's getting up there. I mean, he's probably close to 60 at this point. I mean, he's 55, something like that. He's getting up there. You know, people need to take. I mean, that's the same thing what happened with Shigeru Miyamoto. Like they built a stable of talent, and they're like Fujibayashi and all them, and all the other
Sakurai
directors.
wants to do that.
Sakurai,
He wants
yeah,
to move away from Smash Bros. So he's tried multiple times.
he does.
So
It's interesting because it's funny. He record aside because of we're talking about Sakurai. He recorded all these YouTube videos in a 2 year span. He's been gone from YouTube for a while. He went back to develop a game for the Switch. No one knows what it is, but my money on, like people think it's Smash. I think it's Kid Icarus. I really do.
yeah,
I really
to
think it's
see
Kid
a new
Icarus.
Kid Icarus. Oh my gosh, I would literally lose my mind if they released. I don't even need to see like that original one at this point. Like if he releases a new
I could see that.
one in like the vein of that 3DS for, oh my, I would lose my mind. That's
I bet you.
peak
I
Nintendo
bet you
right
that's
there
what he's
is
doing.
that
I
Kid
bet you
Icarus
that's what
Uprising.
he's doing.
One of Nintendo's best games, easily. Kid Icarus Uprising. Adore that game. It's so clean. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I think what they could be doing, and this is just pure speculation on my part, and we'll get back to Elden Ring for sure, but I did want to talk to you about this a little bit too. I think that if he would be doing a Kid Icarus, which is some rumors, there's no actual like evidence that this is happening. I could see them remaster that game, that 3DS game,
Yeah.
give it proper controls because that is a game that can destroy your hands, from what I hear, um, and use the knowledge that the team gets, remastering that, remaking that, and put it towards a new game. I could definitely see that. And
Okay.
the Switch 2 is in need of a new stable of franchises. I mean, they of course they'll keep going back to the well, but every console they're putting out a new IP. They just are. That's how Nintendo's always been. They will never stop innovating. Last time it was ARMS. The time before it was Splatoon. Like they're going to come up with something new, and if not new, they're going to come back to something. I think, and I think Kid Icarus could be that. You know, um, so I'd be interested to see what he's working on. Anyway, that aside, working with a stable of talent to kind of make a different portfolio of games is interesting. And Miyazaki, he hasn't made every game. He hasn't, like when it comes to directorial capacity. He's also the president of FromSoft. He had people working on Dark Souls 2, for instance, and Armored Core. He was just a producer on that. Armored Core 6. He didn't direct Armored Core. I don't think he's directed. I don't know if he's directed any Armored Core game. Maybe he has. Maybe he hasn't. He hasn't done the last couple. I do know that. Basically, he was put on Demon Souls as kind of a throwaway project, and he succeeded, right? And kind of see where they're at now. But with him getting up in age, you mentioning this is a different director, I could see they kind of want to branch out and see what they're capable of.
Yeah.
It is an interesting idea. I just I don't know. I feel weird about it being Elden Ring, I guess. I think they're doing that because it's popular. I
Yeah.
really think that might be it. Like putting Elden Ring in front of something, even like this format of a game, is huge because the game sold so well. Like that
Mhm.
has such a name brand quality to it. And there's a lot they could do with it because it's a new IP, right? I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that they're reusing a lot of things. That's just the heck of it, right? I think the
Yeah.
only real original bosses are they have like 8 sort of like end run bosses, and those are completely original from what I understand. Every
Okay,
other
they are. Okay.
boss comes either usually from Elden Ring, but there's also a good variety of bosses from Souls games, and
Yeah.
maybe possibly even like they could throw in Bloodborne and Sekiro, maybe, but
I could
probably
definitely see
not.
it.
I don't know if I could see Sekiro, but I could see Bloodborne bosses making it in there. But we
Sekiro,
definitely
you
know
could
there's gonna
though.
be Dark Souls bosses. We've seen Dark Souls 1 bosses and Dark Souls 3 bosses. I'm not sure about Dark Souls 2. They hate Dark Souls
Yeah.
2, so, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Like
don't
the
know.
centipede demons in there, like the
Yep.
nameless kings in there.
Yep.
Those are from three. I think
Centipede
they could do
Demons
they
from
could.
1.
Or sorry, from one. My
Yeah.
bad. I meant the nameless king from three.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
the what was I going to say? Yeah, the demon of hatred. They could definitely do that for Sekiro. They would just have
Yeah.
to gussy it up for. And you know the move set for Elden Ring is acrobatic
Well,
enough. Like you could definitely do it.
that's the second thing that they've really changed. They've changed the move sets of pretty much every
Hmm.
single weapon to be more quick, more fluid, and to overall match this sort of style of game better. So every weapon it feels more like you're playing a like a I don't know, like a Dragon Guard 3, like
Sure. Okay.
like a hack and slash sort of game
Yeah.
rather than the slow methodical combat of the series. They've sped up every single weapon basically.
More responsive for sure is what
Yeah,
I
more
saw. Yeah.
responsive and quicker swipes, quicker swings, and but you still have your back and forth of you and the enemy, and trying
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
still. I'm sure you can still die to mob enemies just as easily in any other game in the franchise, but it I think it's a good direction to go for the move sets for this type of game. I would like to see them go back and try out that slow methodical gameplay of Dark Souls 1, of Dark Souls 2 again, because those are my favorites, but
Yeah. Sure.
it this has mass appeal to it, right? Your hack and
Yeah.
slash action that has mass appeal. So I
And
get
that's a big issue with those original for people that never got it. It's the animations. It's there's no canceling. I mean, it's different. It's
yeah,
those older games are different.
yeah.
The people that got it, and they kind of got a taste of it before they started trending in this newer, more mass appeal direction with their games, where they're more responsive and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry much about windows and this and that.
You don't have to worry
Um,
about like timing out when you're gonna drink Estus.
yes,
Like you can just
yeah.
drink Estus whenever you want.
There's
Because you
like
can
a bunch of
scroll out of it.
iframes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of iframes in the new stuff that the old ones didn't have.
Yeah.
There's very specific like tactical ways you could deploy that, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's just interesting. There's a lot of interesting mechanics at play. I think chiefly among those is the res system with the like people going down. It has
Mhm.
like a kind of a 3 slot wheel. Like as people go down more, the wheel kind of increases until it's full. And the way you res people is by attacking them. It's really
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
fun system.
That's fun, yeah. But it kind of shows you how not poorly you've done, but like how many times you've gone down by the size of
Sure.
your kind of wheel. Um, and it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know, kind of like teams how they deal with like a given boss. Like oh,
Mhm.
I'm under duress right now. I need you to get this guy up. Blah, blah, blah. Like, is
Yeah.
there going to be communication being had, or are people just going to play solo? Like,
Yeah.
it's really
I'm
interesting.
looking forward to
So
playing with friends in this game personally. I don't know how well random lobbies would work out in a game
yeah,
like this.
right.
I mean, it works fine in Monster Hunter, so maybe it would work out fine in something like this. This feels a lot like a sort of like their take on a Monster Hunter almost as well.
A little bit.
it's a
Yeah.
lot more arcadey and quick, snappy mission like a Monster Hunter. So
It's squad based PVE. It's very
yeah,
similar to Monster Hunter. Yeah,
yep,
that way.
yep. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm optimistic. I'm not
Uh huh.
I'm not gonna be too like upset if it turns out to I do like a few runs of it and I'm like, wow, this is really bland. But I think that I can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I can just see myself playing it, and like my mileage will be really low on it. I feel like I've played enough Elden Ring. I feel like I understand Elden Ring. I don't know if I need to go back to Elden Ring ever. I mean, I will at some point because it's Elden Ring, right? But like the feeling for me now is I feel sated with that. I'm more interested in what their next game's going to be. Like this is an interesting stopgap, but as for me, like actually investing a ton of time, I honestly don't see myself doing that. I
Yeah,
will definitely buy it and check it out because it's cheap.
yeah,
It's only a $50 game or whatever it is. But I just, unless I have people to play and it's updated in different ways, or the cadence is something I can keep up with and not be overwhelmed, I might check it out. It might be interesting for the long haul. I will definitely play when it comes out for sure. But
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents really on it. But
Yeah, I think
yep,
this is an interesting, at least, development for co-op aspects of the franchise that I think they might want to bring over moving forward to make them, a little bit easier to do co-op. There's a lot of mods out there for Elden Ring that make
right.
co-op better, and they've implemented a lot of those sorts of functions that the community's implemented in their mods. So it's kind of interesting to see that.
Yeah.
So.
I think they will add a seamless multiplayer in their new game,
Mhm.
like because they are so popular.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I really do. I
Yeah.
don't know how much I'll play of it, but I'm interested to play it
Yeah.
and really check it out.
Well, real
Um,
quick, while we're on the topic of Souls
please.
likes, they have announced the Lies of P overture.
Yeah. It's a
I'm
prequel.
very, very looking forward to that. I loved Lies of P. I like Lies of P better than Dark Souls, or sorry, better than Elden Ring. There we go.
Sure.
I like Lies
Sure.
of P is better than Elden Ring. I think
Okay.
it's a better put together game than Elden Ring for me, at least, because it's got the streamlined sort of Metroidvania that I like. It feels a lot like a mixture of Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. And it feels like a marriage of those two, with a little bit of Sekiro elements in the way that you have like a main character that's already like pre-built, and you just kind of build onto him. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be like a prequel sort of DLC, so yeah, I think that, and whatever they do next, like with they teased the Wizard of Oz stuff. I'm really looking forward to that. Love Wizard of Oz, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think that Neo is doing great stuff with Lies of P. That's really the only Souls like that I actually enjoy besides like the FromSoft offerings. So
And that's what people have said is that like it's really, I mean, I can't think of another one that's as good. Like
yeah, if you have not played
really,
this game, you have to sit down and give this game time.
I've played it. I need to finish it. It's
Yeah.
one of those things I need to finish, and
I adore
I'm
this
doing a lot
game.
of backlog stuff.
Sure.
This year. It's definitely on my list. But
Yeah.
it's one of those games that like gives those games a run for their money for how good it is, and especially for their first effort as a new
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah,
That they nailed
really
it.
impressive.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's one of those things I never finished. I played a lot of it on Series S, and I hated the way it looked on that because Series S is underpowered. And then I bought it for PS5, played a couple hours of it there, and I was just like, okay, I played these opening bits a little bit. I need some time away. I'll be back. And I haven't come back in the last couple of years on it, but
Yeah,
backlog, I will play it, especially since you're so effusive about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with that Wizard of Oz stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it going to be a branch off of literally Liza P, or is it going to be like a spiritual successor, a la, like a Saros with Returnal or something like that?
Yeah.
And we can talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do. Like, if are they going to take these old fables and spin them into Souls likes, or are they
I
going
would
to
like
branch
to.
off?
I would like to play as Dorothy and run around killing
Yeah.
things as Dorothy. Like that would be interesting to me.
I just the idea of you running around the Emerald City sounds amazing.
Yeah,
In a game
yeah.
like that sounds
You
so
have
cool.
like the little minions of the witch coming at you. Like, oh
Yeah,
man.
the monkeys. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna do that or if they're gonna have her go to Krot. Like that's the real thing. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not.
No, I think
Either way, it's interesting.
they gotta do Oz, right? They gotta bring us to
I hope
Oz
so.
and let us
I
tear
hope so.
through, rip and tear our way through Oz. Give the people
Yeah,
what they want, Neo. Is let
we
us
will talk
rip
about
and
ripping and
tear
tearing.
through Oz. That's
Yeah,
right. But hell isn't
yeah,
the
we will
only
definitely
place we
talk
need to
about
rip
that.
and tear through. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I will play that game. It is on my short list. I have a
yeah,
few things that I'm definitely getting to, and that's one of them for sure. Um, but yeah, that's if we didn't say it actually, it's Elden Ring Night Rain. That's the name of that
yeah,
game.
yeah.
We probably should. I need to get
Probably
better
should
about just
talk
kind of
about
mentioning that.
that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's
we
fine. Yeah, and again, we didn't play it. We watched it because
yeah,
it was invite only. But
yeah.
I watched a fair amount of it, and I was like, okay, I need to get my head around this game. This is interesting. I will check it out. So,
I'm
I think
highly
it needs to win
interested
me
in
over
it.
more than you.
Yeah,
But you know,
yeah. I think they've sold me on it pretty much. I think I can get some good gameplay out of it and enjoy it.
gotcha.
The class system seems really interesting. Just to like briefly talk about it, the mage character in particular, like you can use the four different element types, and you can kind of you cast three, and then you get a big spell after that you kind of like craft different
Uh-huh.
elements into one spell, and they can do different like effects depending on what elements you mixed. Like if you mix holy and fire, then you get like an AoE heal, and so it seems like a really interesting system. I like those sort of like
That's cool.
alchemy sort of mixing systems in games. So
Yeah, for sure.
that seems like a class I'll play around with quite a bit, have a lot of fun with. So
That's is that May? I think that's May, isn't it?
yeah, it's May.
Or is that
Yeah.
April? Okay,
It's May.
May. Again, the first half of the year is really filling out. Feels good. I
Yeah.
like seeing new stuff
This
come
is
out.
a good year for games, as always.
Yeah. It really feels like it's starting quicker though this year. Like last
Yeah.
year took a while to kind of pick up steam.
This year is
And
just
then
like bang, bang, bang.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, like talking about the last two things I'll talk about, there's a lot of interesting stuff I didn't even see coming.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, I've seen rumors of like Switch 2 possibly releasing shortly after like the Switch Direct. So I mean, that could
yeah,
happen,
I can
and
see
they
that.
could just shadow drop Switch 2's out in stores. Go get it.
Yeah, it's I would love to agree with you. The one thing I would say that would make them not do that is they have a bunch of live events to play their systems in May. That's the real thing I would say. I hope for a summer release. I think it's going to get pushed to an August, maybe September. That's what I hope. For what you said, I hope that they do that and drop that.
Right.
But since they have all these live events going around, I could see them not drop it until at least
Yeah, that's
midsummer.
fair.
But yeah, anyway, I Switch 2 is going to take over as soon as they put some games on that thing. There's supposed to be two directs. There's supposed to be the old game direct, well, old game, the Switch direct for the games that are, obviously you play on both. They're going to just have a couple drops. I don't think it's a partner. I think it's just a regular direct. They'll probably show more Metroid Prime 4 there, I would imagine. A couple other things to kind of fill out the year before the Switch comes out because they still have a year to get this thing going. And then in April is the real thing. Like it's like they're going to show Mario Kart, probably show the new 3D Mario. I wonder what they'll probably talk about like system features and stuff like that for the actual Switch.
Yeah.
It'll probably be a pretty hefty showcase there. But yeah, like you said, the beginning, this part of the year, it's like there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out in a very short window. And a couple things I've played that I think the first one you're going to be really interested in. So, have you ever heard of Ender Lilies? Have I
Yes.
told you about this game?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard
Yeah.
of this game.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten a chance to check it out myself yet, but it's always looked like something I would probably like. I actually own the first one. I just never got
Yeah,
around
the first
to
one.
booting it up. But
Yeah, Ender Lilies is a 2D Metroidvania with Souls-like elements. Feels very similar to that. But I've played I've played a little bit of the first one. The Ender Lilies is the first one.
quite
The
a
one I am
Cinematics,
talking
yeah.
about, yeah, the one I'm talking about is Ender Magnolia. the second one, the most recent one.
Yep, I've seen that.
I have
drop,
got,
yep.
yeah, I have got to say, it is one of the most visually stunning games I've seen in a long time when it comes to a 2D kind of action game. It is gorgeous, man.
So have you
I don't know
played
if you've
that
seen any of
one
this.
yet, or
I have played both of them, but the one I'm talking about is Ender Magnolia, and I played a
right?
couple hours of that. Yeah,
Okay, so
and
you
that
just
came out.
went
That came out
ahead
in
and
January.
skipped up
Hmm.
to Ender Magnolia. Do you need to play the first one to
Yeah,
play the second one, or?
I don't think so. It seems like pretty by itself, as far as I can tell. It looks like it's set in a similar world. It feels more like a spiritual successor, as far as
Mm-hmm.
I can tell. I I can't really tell because I haven't beaten the first one, but I have played a little bit of the first one too, years ago when it came out. Um, but Ender Magnolia is a really gorgeous, gorgeous game. You play as this little kid. I think her name is Lily, something like that. Lilac.
Lilac,
Lilac is
yeah.
her name. You Lilac. Great art design. It looks kind of like Guilty Gear esque, where it is 2D on a flat plane, but it's obviously 3D styled. So when they move in a 2D way, but it is 3D animation. Um, it's really really eye catching. The background art is phenomenal, very painterly. I love the pops of color. It's a very like gothic looking game, um, with like little zips and zaps of color that I really like.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really cool because, excuse me, you don't even fight yourself. Like you kind of have this like JoJo like star platinum behind you, or whatever, attacking for you, like a stand almost. And that's kind of all your basic attacks. As you beat bosses, you gain their abilities, and it's really really satisfying. The platforming is really tight, but it's got a nice floatiness to it that I really appreciate. The dash is really awesome. I can't like directly compare it to a Prince of Persia because Prince of Persia is so tight. It is so like dialed into what movement should be. This game is definitely not that. I think there will be some. It feels more like a Hollow Knight that way, where it is very considered, very deliberate. The platforming is very tight and crisp.
That's a good game.
Um, yeah, it is a very good game, and I'm excited for Silk Song when it comes out. But Enter Magnolia is more on the Hollow Knight version of the spectrum than the Prince of Persia spectrum.
Sure.
But like I said, a couple hours into it, it really feels like a game for you specifically. It feels like something you would really, really like.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel overbearing on a story. It's not, convoluted and hidden in like items like a FromSoft game is or anything. Like it's very straightforward. It's very like very understated, very quiet sort of game, and you're kind of viewing the story in bits and pieces and flashbacks and stuff. But I really dig it. I'll probably play a lot more of it this weekend for sure. Um, Ender Magnolia, it's super good. Like it feels like it's a sleeper hit. I'm just seeing a bunch of praise for it. Honestly, like people are saying like, oh, it's like one of the best Metroidvanias we've played in a while, that sort of thing. It was on PlayStation's recommended recently. The at least their rating system, like they have like a 5-star rating system I mentioned at some point in the podcast. It's really high on PlayStation. There's a lot of people that have played it at this point. Um, yeah, it seems like one of those games that people are going to be talking about at the end of the year
Yeah.
for sure. Ender Magnolia, and it's cheap. It's like $25, and it feels like it's worth it for sure. Um, Especially for Metroidvania, you get a good bang out of your buck for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you should check it out. You should.
Yeah, I've been looking through like some of the art, like the screenshots of it and stuff, and like, yeah, both that one and Ender Lilies. It seems like they do a good job of like you said, just like splashing in the color here and there.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely FromSoft could learn a lot from that. They're good at their dark, drab environments, but sometimes that gets a little oppressive. I think
A little oppressive, little
honestly,
sometimes.
probably Sekiro was the best game in their like series of like Souls likes that really like pushed using color more so than
Yeah.
I think any other game besides maybe Elden Ring. Elden Ring does
Yeah.
use color in places more so than others, but Sekiro
Elden Ring has a
is-
lot of that. Yeah.
yeah, Sekiro though I really think like they have like the pink cherry blossom area that's just full of just brightness, and so Sekiro's not
like the
afraid
Divine
to
Dragon
use,
stuff. Yeah.
Sekiro's not afraid to use like brighter pastel colors. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Like
it'd
you
be
said,
good to
Elden Ring is like
see.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah, but it'd be good to see a game that can even push for a less like drab um, atmosphere. We've talked about that before in the podcast as well. Like we'd like to see something a bit more, lighthearted maybe in the future, just to see what they can do with that design space. But
for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's a gorgeous game under Magnolia.
yeah,
I don't know if I'll go back and like fully play Lilies, but I think I will play a fair amount of Magnolia if not finish it. It
okay,
feels very like I kind of know, and as soon as I put my hands on a game, sometimes I'm like, oh, I could play this.
yeah,
Like it's immediately good and
oh
immediately
yeah,
grabbing me.
oh yeah,
Nine Souls is like that too. I've been plugging away at that a little bit. Very similar games in that 2D
yeah.
kind of Metroidvania vein, but
I
I will
think
be returning to
the
Magnolia. Yeah.
last few games I had that were like that were games like Drakengard 3,
Sure.
Metaphor gripped me
Yeah.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then like Lies of P gripped me like that, and Armored Core 6 just really like grabbed
Mm-hmm.
me. It was like, oh my gosh, this game feels like it was like built for me. Like I didn't even know I wanted this game, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I just went into it completely blind, and I was like, oh man, I didn't know I'd like this
Mm-hmm.
game. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So, like, speaking of first impressions, we'll kind of segue into my
sure,
next one. I played some Avowed, the
yeah,
new big
I
RPG
was
from
looking
Obsidian.
into this, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really interested in this actually.
So yeah, I played a couple hours of this too. Kind of been dabbling in a lot of the new games this week. I didn't like really dive into any one thing. Kind of been picking my next really goal. But I wanted to try Avowed, and I got it on Game Pass. It's they're doing this thing now a lot with their premium stuff, at least Xboxes, where everything's digital now. They don't have any physical footprint at all.
Hmm.
So everything is like early access if you want to get it premium, like the premium pass. If you want to spend 10, $20 extra to buy the game and get the premium pass, you'll get like 3 days early access. So like the launch of this game was like Thursday night or whatever.
Sure.
But for Game Pass, even Ultimate, like the highest tier, they didn't get it until like Tuesday. So it's like it was really like 3 to 5 days early access for premium people. And it's a new trend that they're definitely doing. Xboxes they do it with the Forza games, they do it with Halo, that sort of thing, or not, maybe not Halo. They've done it recently with their new stuff, and Avowed is no exception to this. So just the initial impressions are I'm not familiar with Pillars of Eternity, which is the setting that it's in. There's a couple Pillars of Eternity games. It's the
Oh,
original, and then Pillars of Eternity Deadfire. Um, they're more of that Infinity Engine, BioWare, Baldur's Gate style games, very choice dependent CRPGs made by Obsidian, famously the developers of Tyranny, of Grounded, but most importantly, they did Knights of the Old Republic 2, and they did Fallout New Vegas. Obsidian did. So they usually get a lot of the second games in a series sort of work when it comes to the big stuff like that. Um, but from what I can tell, like playing it, it's really good. I really like the way it starts. So it's very dense when you get into it, but I don't think it's like something you that's insurmountable or anything. Um, you kind of flesh out your character, pick out your appearance, this and that. You are a godlike in the game. It's called godlike, um, where you have literally in universe have a different appearance than other fae or fauna in the world. You have like mushrooms growing out of your head, and that's what the godlikes look like. But they like have an option to toggle on or off for this. And the reason I mention this is because the game says in like a little note as you're building your character, like, hey, you can turn this setting off for aesthetics, but people in dialogue trees will still comment about it. So do what you want, but like people are gonna remark on it even if there's not a freaking dandelion coming out of your head. It's really interesting that they made that a mandatory like part of your character. um it's fun. It's fun though, because like immediately upon starting the game, you crash land after coming from your kind of like mission base. Basically, you're an envoy for the king in a faraway land. You come into this place called the Living Lands. You crash on a boat. The first thing the guy talks to you after the crash is like, "Oh, you got stuff on your face. You're a mushroom man. What's up? We should get out of here," sort of thing. But it feels very it feels very Skyrim, but with like an outer world scope. That's what it feels like. I think the combat's a lot better than Skyrim's. The feel of the bow specifically is really good, really tight. It feels like they dialed it in really well. And I think a lot of this has to do, and I'll get back to the structure of the game in a minute. A lot of this has to do with like game feel. This was a multiplayer reclamation of Avowed. Basically, like they were trying to make a multiplayer service game before they kind of scrapped it and rejiggered it into a single player RPG, right? So like the tightness of the weapons and stuff are there from like a service game, but the world and characters and dialogue and tech trees and all this stuff are like an RPG. So you can kind of see some stuff in there. There's companions you can get that kind of appear in your bottom left corner. They feel like they could be other players. Like it's very similar to that. You have a campsite where you can talk to people. It feels like kind of a round table for your party. So there's like vestiges of multiplayer structure in this game. If you really know where to look and you really know where the idea came from. It's been a while since they moved away from that, but the structure of that is still there in some ways. The writing seems pretty sharp so far. It doesn't overload you with dialogue or text or anything like that. It's very legible, very readable. I think I've at least played a lot of Pillars 1. I put about 5-6 hours in that game recently to kind of get a lay of the land of Pillars as a franchise, kind of. It's very serious. It's very dour. This game feels a little bit of a break from that in the Outer Worlds style, where it's not completely irreverent, but it's got kind of like a nice, grounded Skyrim feel while being a little whimsical in a sort of fantastical way, too. But first impressions are it's a Skyrim like in a Outer Worlds scope. So it's a large-ish game, more focused down, 40 to 60 hour game, where you are exploring this kind of medieval setting, and meeting a bunch of like interesting races and being an adventure along the way. It feels like one of those Bethesda light games, but not in a derogatory way. It's in an interesting way. So the structure of it is that basically. So I guess you mentioned you wanted to kind of look into Avowed. What kind of attracted you to it, I guess?
It was honestly the first-person combat. It seemed like I like that sort of first-person sword and board sort of combat. It looks like it had some interesting spell casting going on as well.
Yeah.
It's no secret that I like Kingsfield and I love the combat in those games, and so I'm always looking for like good first-person sort of combat in a fantasy setting. And I saw that and I was like, oh, maybe I'd actually like this game. I like Obsidian. I adore New Vegas. It's easily my favorite of the Fallout series. I absolutely adore that game. But I even have the Caesar's Legion Magic Precon.
Oh wow!
So yeah, with like Caesar as the commander, it's a lot of fun. But
that's awesome. Yeah.
But it seems like my type of game. I recently messed around a little bit with Fly Night. That game came out pretty recently. I don't know if
I've
you
heard
saw
about
that.
this. Yeah.
But I messed around with that a little bit. I think that one is a little bit more like, I guess, multiplayer focused, and I didn't have anyone that was too interested in trying that in my group, so
Okay.
I played around with it a little bit myself, just couldn't quite get into it, but it's supposed to be like a shorter sort of experience, so I'll get around to completing that eventually. But I just like those sort of first-person dungeon crawler type games.
It feels that way. It really does. And I like that about it. I think that's the highlight of the game so far for me, is the loadout stuff. So you can kind of wheel and deal however you want. Like you have a main hand and an offhand. You can wield 2 maces if you want. You can wield 1 sword, 1 shield. The shields always have to be offhand, but other than that, like you can put a grimoire, which is a spell book, in one hand, either hand, and a gun in the other. Like I was doing that. Like I was popping spells and shooting dudes in the head, and it felt really good. It felt really tight. Um, it also has optional third person if you want it. It looks a little jank in the ways that like those games look jank, right? But it feels good. I will say it feels good. The one thing I had to dial in actually in the settings was the camera movement was really slow, like really slow for console. And I think it's because they pushed out something recently to kind of change some sliders, and I think they probably undertuned that one, so I kind of had to kick it up a couple degrees to kind of just get my movement back. I also have been playing Doom, like the old Dooms, so maybe I feel kind of sluggish because of that too. Could be, I don't know. Playing it on Series S, I wish I wasn't. I really want to play that on something better than that. But I don't want to like buy an Xbox, so it'd probably be a PC thing. They should just put their games everywhere. I don't know why we're still messing with this sort of thing. I would have bought it on PlayStation had it came out
obviously.
on PlayStation. But it's super good, super fun, really well made. The voice acting in particular is amazing, especially for your companions. I haven't heard one repeat voice actor like you normally do in like a Bethesda game. Your main party member that you get to begin with is called Kai. He's an Awa, I think his name Awamea. It's like they're a fish people. They're like scaly fishmen with sharp teeth, and they come in different hues and colors. But he's voiced by Garrus Vakarian, the guy who plays Garrus Vakarian in the Mass Effect games, Brandon Keener. So it felt like a nice warm blanket to start the game, and I was just like, oh, Garrus, I love you. Like he's like one of my favorite party members ever in any RPG, right? So hearing this guy again, I'm like, oh, okay. It really like focused me. I was like, okay, they know what they're doing here. I'm excited to play more of it. Like I said, I wish I was not playing it on a Series S because it doesn't look the greatest sometimes. But it runs well. It runs 30 frames per second, which kind of sucks. I don't know if it's 30 on Series X. I have no idea. I would hope it would be. I've thought about maybe upgrading and getting rid of this one. But I don't know. I wanted to have a kind of foothold in Xbox, but not be totally in sort of thing because obviously no one's buying the boxes, right? And all their games on PC. And I was hoping to build a PC by now. But just to kind of end it, like I haven't played a ton of it. A couple hours here, a couple hours there for a lot of games, and this is one of those. Avowed, really good. I will be kind of plugging away at it. I think for the beginning of the year a little bit, Monster Hunter is going to really divert me, but I don't want to lose steam on it too much, so I will play more of it before Monster Hunter comes out. Really good. Like people, it's getting like not mixed reviews, but like lower than I would think. It's got like an 80 on Metacritic. It's good. That's a good rating, right? But like, there's a lot of like really high ratings and then like 6s and 7s, and I'm like, okay, what do people want out of this game, sort of thing. I don't know. I enjoy it, but like some people feel like maybe it doesn't go all the way in some ways. I don't know. It's interesting to see what people think. I think the highlight of this game is the combat, the writing, and the voice acting specifically. So far, I can't really comment on the visual aspect of it because I feel like I'm playing on a compromised version. So that's basically about. So
Yeah. No. Obsidian is out there doing good work, and if I find time, I'll definitely check it out. But this year's just so packed. I don't have.
It's so packed already.
Yeah,
it's so packed already, and it's going to get even more packed. Yeah.
Good time to be a gamer.
It's a great time to be a gamer. Like by the time we get to summer, we'll have played like a year's worth of games already. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what the Switch has got coming up, Switch 2 has got coming up, and then all the new stuff they don't even announce. And where GTA falls in that, because they say for sure it's coming out this year. They are like, yes, it is coming out this year. And it's not coming on PC, it's coming to console only, and that's it, and only new gen stuff.
This year's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be an all-timer, I think. I really do. And I'm really excited to see how it goes.
I mean, 25, that's a significant year, and it's a fourth of a century. So, quarter of the way there. Yeah. That's all the new stuff I played. Really, anything new for you? If not, we'll jump into some backlog stuff because we've really been jumping at that. I haven't really. I mentioned a little bit of Fly Night. I think I mentioned playing around a little bit with web fishing not too long ago. I had a good time
Still need to
messing
check
around
that
with
out.
that. It's a fun, chill experience. I found some fun lobbies. I just like joining random lobbies, and there's fun, people that will just talk about those random things, and it can be fun.
That's cool.
If you find the
That's cool.
right lobby.
I like the instance conversation. That's a really
Yeah.
interesting way to kind of wrap it up. Yeah.
Yep. So
It's like a chat room. Yeah.
yeah, that's what it is. It's just a chat room. So with a
mhm.
game attached to it. So it's just a simple game, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, other than that, yeah, I guess we can dive into some of our like backlog stuff. I mean, old
Yeah, I
games that we've
really
been
want to
messing around with.
hear. I want to hear about your For the King 2 stuff because
Yeah,
I've seen you've been playing that. What's up with that?
yeah. So a few of my friends just decided that they wanted to get back into it, and so I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm cool with that. So we've been trying to get through. There's like a 5 or 6 chapter campaign for the game, so we're trying to get through that. We're on chapter 2 right
Yep.
now. So yeah, we're just trying to sort of enjoy the game. It's a 4-player sort of a D&D esque, almost like it has like a grid system going on to where you
Mm-hmm.
move your character around on a grid to go to different points of interest, and so almost plays like a I don't know, like a tabletop.
Yeah.
Or like
It's like a 4X Civ game, but with RPG mechanics. It's really interesting.
yeah, you could say that. So
It looks presentationally like that. It doesn't play like
yeah,
a Civ, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, presentationally, it's a lot like that. So it's good fun. As with any co-op game, there can always be a little bit of friction in the party here and there. One person wants to do one thing, other people want to do the other thing. But for the most part, it's good fun. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a wide variety of like play styles and weapons and um, class sort of options. So
It's run based, correct?
yeah, yep. It's kind of like a rogue like in that sense, but like the set of tasks you have is always the same, but where those tasks appear and what events happen is always randomized. So
Okay.
so it's semi
Yeah.
roguelike. So
Yeah, I have only exposure to the first one, and I played
Mhm.
on Switch, and it was really crappy on Switch. So
okay.
I feel like
The-
I didn't. I feel like I didn't get a good taste of it.
Sure, I had a good time with the first one personally because I played it with a couple friends on PC, but
Yeah.
we didn't play through like the whole thing, but we got through a campaign or two and enjoyed ourselves. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It looks interesting. So that came out last year, though, didn't it?
yeah, I believe
Yeah, it did.
so.
It was pretty recent, I
Um,
thought.
yeah, so it's not too old, but it was something that we were looking forward to for a long time, and then there was just so much going on when it dropped that none of us really had time to sink our teeth into it. Now we do, so we're going back and playing
Yep.
it. So yeah, we're having a good time with that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. You've kind of been playing the same 100% orange juice, though. Is there anything different with that? I like
Yeah.
hearing about your version of like the service games that I'm
Uh huh.
not privy to. You're
Yeah.
like, I've been playing this for years. I'm like, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, no,
You
this
know?
this is my this is my
It's your
service
thing.
game. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
my thing. So I love it. It's not the right thing to call it. This is what
Yeah.
I
It's
imagine that
yeah.
Night Rain is going to be monetized like. So this game, right? You don't put any money into it until they drop a new character pack, and then you buy the new character pack, and that's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
what they do. Or
I could definitely see that. Yeah.
once in a blue moon, they'll drop a DLC card pack that
Okay.
gets you access to new booster packs, which then you use with your in-game currency earned by playing the game to do pulls on card packs. So once in a blue moon, they'll do that. There's been like 3 in the entire history of the game. The game has been out for like 10 years, maybe
Oh,
longer.
wow.
But yeah, it's a really fun game. Every like 6 months or so, they drop a character pack with like 2 or 3 characters. So, but right, and then they have like every few months they'll run an event. Right now they're running the pig formation event, so all the characters are turning into pigs, and they
Nice.
get like pig ears and a pig nose, and so it's pretty funny. There was like the story dialogue has one of the characters. They're like gung ho about saving the world, and then they turn into a pig, and they're like, "I no longer care about saving the world." Just the delivery of it is just, oh man,
Like
it had me
very,
cracking up.
very
Yeah, deadpan.
Okaroon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
they're
withering.
yeah. And then they're like, somewhere in the dialogue, they're also like, "I'm gonna just play my Nintendo Swatch."
Oh my goodness. Nintendo. Oh man.
But
So
yeah.
so the structure of this is like a Mario Party, like, right?
Yep. Mario Party mixed with Card Collector, mixed with I don't know, like a board game battler. You can battle other players on the board, and you use different cards for different effects, whether they're in battle or on the board. And then each character has their own unique hyper card that they can draw, and all players draw from a shared deck of cards in the center of the board, and so each player gets to send 10 of their cards of their choice into that pile of cards. So you could draw literally, anything that's put into that pile. So yeah,
Gotcha.
it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And the new event has some fun cosmetics. And yeah, so I play it every once in a while whenever they drop an event or a new character.
You said Mario Party, and my everything left my body. I went no.
Oh, I love Mario Party. Oh my goodness.
Can't do Mario.
Party. You know what I played though? You know what I played the last time I was at a party? We were all really bored, really tired at this party, right? We were looking for anything to do. So we booted up the Nintendo 64 Virtual Console on Switch, and there were a couple of new games available on my buddy's Switch, so I was controlling it, and so I'm like, oh yeah, let's check out these new games. Let's see what's going on, right? So I unveiled them, and there was one that was calling my name. It was absolutely speaking to me. It was called... What was it called? Oh gosh. I gotta get the name right. Sorry.
It was called Castlevania 64. No, they didn't put that on
Iggy's Wreckin' Balls. That is what it was called. Iggy's Wreckin' Balls. And let me tell you, this game is the best game on the Nintendo 64.
No,
easily.
Stop
Hands
it.
down.
Stop it.
It's so good.
I can't with you.
It's so good.
You.
Iggy's Wreckin' Balls, all right? What you do...
He is kidding.
What you do
kidding.
is you play as a titular wrecking ball. Sorry, wrecking ball. Wrecking is like that's a little bit too harsh of a word, but wrecking
RECK,
yeah, that's a little too harsh. We don't use that word on this show. But
no, we don't.
Wrecking, it's like heckin', heckin', that's fine. But
so heckin' die.
He's wrecking balls. No, listen. Right. This game, we had so much fun playing this game, right? We went through a whole course, and it was like we were all trying to get our feet in the water with this game, trying to figure it out. I kind of picked up on it pretty quick, and then my buddy picked up on it, and he started just beating me on every single course he'd get ahead of me, right? But I had a good early lead, and then I was right behind him on every single other course. But the very last course, I was able to overtake him, and I stole the entire like Grand Prix, and he was so man, I got him good with that one, and
That's pretty good.
Man, it was so much fun. So I promised him I'd talk about it at some point on the podcast, but we had a lot of fun playing Iggy's Wrecking Balls. And then we switched to Mario Party and absolutely like we're at each other's throats at that because
you gotta pack a knife when you play.
Oh yeah,
Knife.
I adore party games like those though, but Iggy's Wrecking Balls was a really fun like distraction. Genuinely, like if you have the right group, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, famously at my bachelor party, it wasn't really bad. We had a fun party where we all had pizza and soda and stuff, and we all played Smash Brothers. It was like 8-player Smash. It was awesome. Yeah. And then on my wedding day, we actually played Brawl of all things, Smash Brothers Brawl, in the loft on my old Wii. That was pretty great too. Oh, yeah. So party games are great, but yeah, Mario Party, you gotta pack a knife. That is so slanderous what you just said. It's the best game on the 64 and 64.
Oh, it's so good.
I can't with you. I can't with you. It's not the best game.
We love Iggy's
Time on that machine.
What? I've never heard of that one. I've only heard of like Iggy's Wrecking Balls and Mario Party, but
be wrecking your balls if you slander Ocarina of Time anymore. That's a perfect video game.
Oh my gosh, you're not one of those people. Oh man.
It is a perfect video game.
I mean,
tell me one
Majora's Mask is right there, but you know.
Okay, no, I shouldn't do that because there are some parts of Ocarina that's not perfect.
Majora's Mask is right there. That's the perfect game on the N64. If you my honest opinion, but
yes, well, I like the 3D version, 3DS version.
Oh, not the botched version. So, anything but that.
Oh, the botched version, yes.
Oh man, they ruined everything. They ruined the George
censored it by making it look better and play better. They censored all the good stuff.
I like the blockiness, I like the old textures, and I like the old Goat and George fights. They were perfect.
They are going to remake Ocarina, and it's going to piss you off so bad. They are going to, I bet.
Ocarina? Though that game's old and nasty and crusty.
Oh yes, they will.
They're going to remake Majora for Switch. They're going to give it a full HD remake.
No way.
Everyone likes Majora better than Ocarina. Ocarina's a dated game.
You're treading on very, very thin ice, my friend.
No, I like Ocarina as much as the next guy, but I'm way more
Ocarina's
of a Majora's fan personally.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. Iggy Wrecking Balls. Ugh. It's not the best game on the 64.
Yeah, it is.
Shadows of the Empire is better than that game. I love Shadows
of the Empire. Oh my gosh. It's still Iggy's Wrecking Balls, but it's alright.
I now know what the thumbnail's gonna be. It's gonna be Iggy's Wrecking Balls. That's another thing we should probably talk about. We're trying to update our channel with proper logos and stuff, and I've been frenzying trying to get it up before this next pod so I could just be current. And I finally got everything up. I think my favorite one I did was the Yuji Naka one. That one's my favorite.
That one's pretty awesome. I enjoyed that.
I had his face there for a while, and I was just like, you know what? The man's in jail. I should put censored bar on his face. It's too good.
They're well done. All of them are well done. I've really
thank you. I do appreciate it. Yeah, it was very fun to do. I like that program I'm using. I'm using a trial till March, and it's like, you want to use it for the year, $150. It's like, I gotta shell out because I've been using this and I know it now, so it's fine. It's fine. We do this semi regularly, so I better. The Yuji Naka one was my favorite. yeah.
We've been pretty regular with the show, so.
Yeah, we've been very regular. Has it been October since we've been doing this? I think it has been.
Yeah.
October something, maybe. Yeah.
It's been quite a few
because
months.
we both started playing Metaphor around the beginning of this show, I want to say. Or I did at least.
You did, yeah.
I played
it took me a little bit to catch up, but I sped run that thing when I got a hold of it.
You bled through that game like 2 weeks or something. I was like, what are you doing? I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I shouldn't have done it, but I did.
So good. Great game. We gotta stop talking about Metaphor.
Talk about that's a banned game, just like we banned.
No, don't ban it. Don't ban it.
We banned Concord and we banned Bubsy 3D. See,
Iggy's
Wrecking Balls can be my new Bubsy 3D. So.
Oh man, At least it's a better video game than Concord. You have
Yeah,
that
no,
in
it
your
is.
corner.
It's a way better game. I can promise you that, folks. Like, you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of Iggy's Wrecking Balls than Concord. I can promise you that.
Amazon greenlight the freaking secret level for Iggy's Wrecking Balls. Do it, you cowards. Bezos, I want you in a courtroom, and we will litigate this until I get it passed.
Why am I starting to picture this actually coming together though and being like an interesting like concept? Like each of the
Because
Wrecking
biblically accurate Pac-Man that do it with Iggy. Make him look hard. Make him look scary.
each of the Wrecking Balls does have like their own personality and like they each have their own, like unique aesthetic to them, So I could totally see like them doing like like a almost like that really terrible PlayStation secret level, but like make it actually good because it's about Iggy's Wrecking Balls, an actually good series. So
The amount of times you have said balls in this podcast is going to be studied for future posterity. I promise. I promise you. As soon as we have our druthers and a following, we will be clipping you saying Iggy's Wrecking Balls
awesome.
a million times. Oh my gosh. Bezos,
Wonderful.
bring me the money to make Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
He'll direct
level
it.
episode.
He'll be your creative. Like he's got it.
Bezos will? Yeah.
No, you'll be the creative.
Oh, I will be. Okay.
Yeah, I'll help you out. But Bezos,
Yeah,
you got to
'cause-
shell out for us. We need.
Because I know what...
We're gonna
I've
make you a
definitely
lot of
played that
money.
game.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll play it. I'll
Oh.
show you it. I can be your lore director. I can make sure you get the lore correctly. I know all about the lore of
Wrecking Ball
Iggy's
lore.
Wrecking Ball.
Stop! Oh my god. Enough. We're moving on. Talk about Dark Souls 3 randomizer.
Okay.
Please, get
Give me a
out of
second.
here.
Give me a second. I gotta compose myself, man. I know I'm
Okay.
pretty good at playing the straight man with my jokes, but even this time it's just gotten
That's
to
pretty
me.
good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
Oh, man.
And he's also so ugly. Could you imagine him in 4K? We can't have him in 4K.
We have to
can't
have
do
him
it.
in 4K, please. We gotta get him on the Switch too. Give
It's
him
like the scans. Do you remember the scans of the old Donkey Kong Country cells?
Yeah.
It's gonna be that for Iggy's, and it's gonna
Oh,
be horrible. You're gonna see
no.
every pore of that green freak's face.
Okay, no more Majora's Mask, no more Ocarina of Time, HD Iggy's Wrecking Balls. It's gonna be a launch title for the Nintendo
man.
Switch too. You heard it
Oh,
here first,
man.
folks. I talked
Who
to
made that
Miyamoto myself. I have no idea, but Miyamoto told me himself that he's releasing this.
How
game.
could we ever know? How could we check this?
Yeah.
If only something existed
Yeah,
to help
right.
us find the information.
I don't know
Iggy's
anything
Wrecking
about
Balls.
information stuff. I mean, Iguana Entertainment, published by Acclaim.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, Acclaim, the double K. Yeah.
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 So Iguana Entertainment, real iguanas worked on this, folks. So you know that it's a good quality game.
I can't. We gotta stop. Moving on. Okay. I'll let you decompress a little bit. I'll talk about a
Yeah.
game I played. How about
Sure,
that? We'll talk about
Go for it.
Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. It's not a backlog game, really. It is a remake of an old game. So my history with Ninja Gaiden is very small, I played the original NES version. I was like, this is too hard. We're not going to play any more of this. I'm getting killed off screen. This is no good. I played a fair amount of Ninja Gaiden Black. I really like that game. This is the 360 like remaster / remake of 2. They basically just put like Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. They dropped this during the Xbox Developer Direct stuff where they were talking about Ninja Gaiden 4, Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, all that stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, it's again playing it on Game Pass on Series S, not great. Doesn't look awesome. It plays super well though. It's slowly becoming one of my favorite combat systems in a lot of games. Like it's really nice. Like everything is very it feels like a fighting game. Like you have to learn a certain tool, a certain move set for a tool, this and that. When you cut up enemies, you can do this obliteration technique where you're basically XXS, like hacking them up, and when they lose a limb, you can press Y to finish them off on Xbox, and you just slice through them. So you're kind of like kind of like deflecting and counterattacking people, and kind of it's like a nice dance back and forth.
Yeah.
And you do it with multiple weapons and level them up and stuff. It feels like a video game, and I
Yeah.
really like that.
I
The
love
story makes
love those.
no sense. The action is really well directed, really well animated. As far as I know, they just did an engine pass on this thing, updated some models and textures, and they said like this game is the same. Literally, the camera is the same, and that's kind of a problem. I'm about halfway through it. Not much to say because it's a very, very video game play dewy game. Super awesome game. You should check it out for sure. Do you have any have you been exposed to Ninja Gaiden at all?
Nope. I
No,
don't
nothing.
even. I think it's like
Let
an
me
old
tell you
Sega
about
thing.
Let me tell you about Ryu Hayabusa. He is the
I've
Dragon
heard of that
Ninja.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name? Joe Hayabusa? He's okay, so like in Ninja Gaiden proper, NES, they have Joe Hayabusa, I think. And he is a character in the new games. And it's so weird. Everyone has like random names, right? Like he's Ryu, he's blah 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 blah. And there's just Joe Hayabusa. I'm like, interesting. So like the villain of the game, I forget what his name is, but he's all gussied up as an attire. And it's a boss fight. It's very cheesy, very silly. And it feels like one of those like old karate action movies where they're just doing a standoff in a burning building. He goes, "I've been looking for you, Joe Hayabusa," and he's like, "Ryu, you have to get out of here." And I'm like, calling just this guy Joe is just really schlocky. I love it.
That's awesome.
Joe, I've been looking for you. All
You're,
right, Bill.
You
Yeah.
just reminded me of Sekiro with the my name
Yeah, that's right.
is
Gyobu
Masataka Oniwa.
Yeah.
Oh
It
man.
feels very similar. Like the cadence is very similar.
You liked Sekiro
but,
quite a bit, didn't you?
I love Sekiro.
Yeah,
It's
that's
my
what I
second
thought,
favorite
yeah.
FromSoft game.
Yeah.
It's Bloodborne and Sekiro, and
I
everything else
enjoy
is below it.
the heck out of that thing quite a bit. So
I platinumed that game. I
Yeah.
beat it 4 times. I
Yep,
love that game
same.
so dearly.
I
I was thinking about
got
doing
them
it again
all
on
on
Xbox,
Xbox.
and I refrained.
yeah, I did it all
Yeah.
on Xbox. I've thought about doing it on Steam. So
Yeah, it is. Man, that game's tight, and it feels very similar in that way to Ninja Gaiden in some ways,
Yeah.
where it's nice and acrobatic. There's a great deflect system.
Sure.
It takes a while to kind of get an idea of it, but it's a nice push and pull. It feels like that push and pull of Sekiro,
Yeah.
not as tight, not as deflect, counter heavy, that sort of thing. But the game is hard, and excuse me, and it really tests you if you're not paying attention.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a tough game. If Ninja Gaiden Black was a tough game, this game is less so. It's extremely violent. It's so violent. I'm not like someone that's like, I mean, I played all the way through Doom 2016 and Eternal recently,
Right.
for Pete's sakes. I'm not averse to violence. It's not
Sure.
like that. But it is crazy how violent this game is. Like you are cutting limbs, and it's just like rivulets of blood all over
Ooh.
your screen. Like it's
Sure.
insane. It looks
Yeah.
like, yeah, it looks like freaking slasher
Yeah,
movie.
I don't like gross out gore stuff. So as long as it doesn't get like too much like that,
It's not really
then-
that.
Okay.
No.
Like
It's so over the top. It's cartoony.
Okay,
It feels like
cool.
Doom that way. Yeah.
Because like some of the
Um,
later bits of mouth washing, definitely, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of this. So
Yeah. Well, that one's very personal too, and it feels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. A side note: they're actually porting that to consoles. I will be probably playing that again. I really
Really?
like that game. But yeah, like you said, I have an iron stomach for that stuff for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
if not done properly, it can kind of really get into some unsettling territory. But it's so cartoony. Like you just take it on the chin. You're like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is fantastic, and I will be talking more about Doom because I kind of want to end on that. But yeah, I think you had what, Dark Souls 3 randomized. You want to jump into before I got into my stuff?
This is pretty interesting, and I was kind of vague with it because I wanted to really unpack it on the podcast to get your honest reaction to this. But I don't know if you've heard of this system. It's called Archipelago.
Okay.
So what the system does is it's a randomizer system for various different games, right? So
okay. So it's like a framework, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a framework for randomizing games, right? So you can patch tons of different games. Like we're talking anything from Super Mario World to Undertale to Minecraft to
Oh wow.
Factorio to Stardew Valley. Just there's Ocarina of Time.
Mm.
Just it like there's a huge list of games. Mega Man 2, Sonic
Oh
Adventure
wow.
2. So big list of games. But I was playing Dark Souls 3. I like me some Dark Souls 3. That was the only FromSoft offering that they have right now in the framework.
Okay.
So I was playing me some Dark Souls 3. Because I was playing it with friends. And my friends were like, oh, you're the Dark Souls guy. You're playing Dark Souls 3. Sure,
Yeah.
I'm playing Dark Souls 3. Whatever. But the trick to this framework is that you can link games up.
Oh my goodness.
So I was playing it with a group of friends, and one of them was playing Stardew Valley, one of them was playing Terraria, one of them was playing Factorio, and one of them was playing Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
I was playing Dark Souls 3.
Uh-huh.
All of the games were linked to where item drops for each of our games could be found in each of our games. So I would be unlocking items for my friends in their games. They would be unlocking items for me in their games.
What?
Yes.
What the hell is this?
It's Archipelago.
That's crazy.
It's so easy to set up too. I mean,
How does that even work?
I don't know. It's magic. It's magic. I swear.
That is nuts. I've never heard of something like that.
We went through this, right? And it was rough because sometimes my progression would be a little bit locked behind their stuff, but sometimes their major progression. Dark Souls doesn't have whole lot of progression gates. Not a whole lot of stuff stops you from like being able to do things and fight bosses in that game. So a lot of times, it was just up to me to like get to where I needed to go to get my friends their progression. Yeah, we had a lot of fun going through this. We ended up towards the end on our last play session last Thursday. I got into a little bit of a race with the Factorio player because I was at the end of my game. He was about to build his rocket ship and escape the planet in Factorio. That's the end of Factorio. So we got into a bit of a race because all I really needed to do was I needed the last Cinders of a Lord, and the last two Cinders of a Lord, I should say, and one of them was locked behind an Ocarina of Time pickup, and then the Ocarina of Time pickup opened a marketplace in Stardew Valley for the Stardew Valley player to be able to buy the Cinders of a Lord for me so I could get to the final boss.
This is insane.
Yes. That was the actual chain of events that happened. And there was chains of events like that all throughout the playthrough to where people would be locked behind other games' progressions. So
that is insane.
He ended up accidentally stumbling upon the exact item that my friend needed in order to find the exact market he needed to be able to buy the actual item I needed to complete the game. Like, you can't complete the game with all of the Cinders of a Lord, right?
Yeah.
So he was able to buy that for me, and then I was able to my final Cinders of a Lord was behind the usual Nameless King boss fight, but it's all randomized. So it wasn't Nameless King. It was the Dancer of the Boreal Valley.
Oh wow!
And then phase 2 was Champion Gundyr.
What?
Yep.
That's crazy. Is it in the Nameless King stage?
Yes.
Wild.
Yes.
That is wild.
Yes. But that was actually a really not too bad fight. In fact, I was kind of showing off a little bit.
Nameless King. Yeah.
I was just showing off a little bit. I was kind of waiting for the Stardew Valley player to get me my Cinders of a Lord. So I'm like, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and pull out Old Faithful. So I pulled out the broken straight sword and was
Of
wailing
course you
on
did.
the Dancer of Boreal Valley with stats boosted up to be equivalent to the Nameless King, mind you. But still, the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, I was wailing on them with that broken sword. But
Yeah.
it was getting kind of late, so I was like, okay, I'll put away Old Faithful for now, and I'll just do this with an actual weapon. So I ended up having Wilnir's Holy Sword as like my main throughout most of the game.
Were you recording this or anything, or do you have an
No,
archive
we were
of this,
just
or-
we were
okay.
just playing it to play it. Yeah.
You have to record this for me so I can watch you do this. That's insane.
Okay. Next,
I have to see
next
something.
play session, because we do this every Thursday, and we're gonna be starting
my
up a new
gosh.
run. But let me finish explaining the whole thing. So
Yeah, please. Sorry.
no,
I
you're
have to
good.
see
You're
this,
good.
though.
But so yeah, I ended up just beating it kind of normal. I say kind of normal. I had about like 5 or 7 Estus flasks because I wasn't finding my Estus flask shards because everything was randomized, and I had like only like a +3 or 4 Estus flask, so like very non-upgraded Estus flask, about halfway upgraded Estus flask, I would say. So I was doing this with like low Estus, but I've done it with the broken sword before, so it using an actual weapon isn't like big deal even with the lowered Estus. So yeah, so we got through that pretty easily when I pulled out the Willinir's Holy Sword, and then I just went to final boss, and the final boss was Aldrich of the Deep, replacing Soul of Cinders.
Crazy.
So that was significantly easier. Still a tough fight. Aldrich is not the easiest
Aldrich
fight.
is-
But
especially when there's no pillars in that stadium. That's tough.
you can't hide behind the pillars for the bow attack. So
You just gotta run.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was able to
That's
find
probably a cool looking boss fight too, right? Like
Yeah.
the Aldrich in that field. Yeah.
it looks like
Sick.
it belongs there, definitely. So
That's cool.
but I was able to get one run where they just decided not to use the bow attack, so that's how I was able to do it.
Lucky.
The bow attack
lucky.
kept killing the one that homes in on you and follows you around.
Oh yeah, I know exactly.
kept
I
killing
just
me.
saw this fight recently.
I've already
Yeah.
forgotten like how to counter that. I still don't remember how to counter it, but they just decided not to do it. So I'm like, okay, great, we've got this.
Yep.
But
Yep.
once I completed the game, and I did end up beating the Factorial player in our little race, but
Sick.
he was very close behind though. It was a good race. It was very fun racing those two games. It was a very weird race.
What a weird race. Yeah.
But once I completed my game, they all got every single unlock that was left to find in my world, right? Because Dark Souls has like 1,500 different like item pickup locations, so like there was a ton of things that was in my game for them. So, but once I complete the run of the game, then they just get everything. So,
wow. Okay. That's awesome.
so
man.
then the Factorial player was able to complete his game, and everyone got everything. But they're sadly kind of stuck because Stardew Valley is kind of a larger game than any of them, and so
It is, yeah, that's a huge game.
unfortunately, I don't think that run will be completed fully. I think we'll probably end up moving on to a new
Bummer.
randomizer. So the Ocarina player, the Stardew player, and the Terraria player probably won't be finishing their games, but we did get 2 games finished, so that's pretty impressive.
That's
for
super cool, man.
a mixed randomizer like that, yeah. And there was some funny moments too, even in the early game, because like my first tutorial boss, Vort was replaced with none other than the Watchers of the Abyss.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then the Watchers of the Abyss got replaced with the Phase 2 of the Twin Princes. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so...
Man, what a cool run. I got to see some of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. The element of everyone just working together to get through their games mixed with like I had never done a Dark Souls randomizer before, and that was a lot of fun for me as somebody who's played through 3 countless times. I love like all 3 of the Dark Souls games. They're my top 3 FromSoft games. So
Sure.
Besides maybe Kingsfield, I might like Kingsfield a little bit better than Kingsfield 3, a little bit better than Dark Souls 3, but.
Okay.
But yeah, I still adore Dark Souls 3, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I'd like to
sick.
see the other
Sick.
Dark Souls entries on Archipelago eventually, but I'd love to play through 1 with that. That would be but
Yeah, if you did 1 like that, you should definitely record a run. I would love
yeah,
to
if
watch
they add
that.
it, if they add 1, then I would definitely do
Okay,
that. But
okay.
they don't have it
Gotcha,
yet. They
gotcha.
just have 3 right now. But
Gotcha.
the next game I will be completing on it is Sonic Adventure 2. So,
Ooh,
yep.
yeah.
Randomized Sonic Adventure 2. A lot of my things will be in other people's worlds, whether it's my emblems or my upgrades for my characters to actually get through like story progression. So it'd be really interesting to see how far I can get, if not be able to complete it. I don't know how long of a run I'm gonna do quite yet. I don't know if I'm gonna do like a 100% run or if I'm just gonna get through Hero Dark and last story or what I'll do, but.
So you're doing this for games that they have up for Archipelago, but also games that you're really, really very well versed in, right?
Yeah, we're all trying to pick kind of games that we know our way around. Like,
Okay,
I don't think I
gotcha.
could get too stuck on Sonic Adventure 2. Like, I'm pretty confident I can get through that even without having some of the upgrades. So.
Okay, cool. Sick, man. That is one of the wildest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it on the podcast, and I kind of wanted to surprise you with it to get your
That's
reaction
amazing.
to it.
I have to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, the next stuff I would want to talk about is just little check-ins with things. I've dabbled in Returnal. I mentioned this to you anyway.
Yeah.
They announced a spiritual sequel to this game, Housemarque has, called Saros. So Returnal is it's a run-based third-person roguelike. It's kind of a higher budget game. It's a Sony published game from Housemarque. They were known basically for their arcade kind of shooters, like Resogun, and kind of other games like that. Nex Machina, yeah, Nex Machina is one of the games that they also have. I was just kind of looking for something to kind of like listen to podcasts to because I have a backlog. I want to kind of throw something on and play, and Returnal's good for that. I don't know if I'm gonna ever finish that game. It's so punitive. The stuff they're changing with Saros is going to be really interesting because there's going to be more persistent progression to it, which I really like. The games that do run-based games really well are like Dead Cells is really good at it. Hades is super good at it. Stuff that keeps, they keep building your character as you do runs and runs and runs. Rogue Legacy is also like this, where you're building your kind of castle and getting different perks to kind of start your runs with, right? Returnal has none of this. So besides like unlocking areas or whatever, or beating story bosses, like the only progression you have is your knowledge and your like texts and data logs, and then your bosses that you've defeated. So when you go back to zero, you start at the first world, and there's like 6 worlds or 5 worlds or something, and a run can be like 2 hours or something like that, 3 hours by the time you're done. It's super deflating.
Yeah.
It's not well paced, not well balanced. The game is super fun, I will say, but it's punishing to like you have all these pickups that like alter your kind of base stats or health or excuse me, weapon damage or whatever. There's different types of pickups, like health pickups and gun pickups, and there's different proficiency meters for like how powerful this gun is compared to another one. It's very like Fortnite that way, where it's like this gun's better than that gun, whatever. But there's the main issue I have with like the pickups in the game is there's this thing called malignancy that you can get that like basically adds a detriment to your character. So like you have to finish a task, kind of like a quest log, to kind of remove the malignant tumor from your character and keep the benefit from that. and it's super punitive. I think that is a huge problem with Returnal. That hopefully they fix in Saros, which looks really cool. They put out a CG trailer at the State of Play, which was really interesting. Um, I want to really like this game, Returnal, but I feel like I'm going to be destined to just plug away at it until I just get frustrated enough to quit it.
Sure.
Just dabbling in that because I wanted to play a podcast game, Yakuza Kiwami 2, making some pretty good progress in. I want to play the whole series. Kiwami 2 is good. I don't like it as much as the other ones for sure, but like Zero is like one of my favorite games ever, ever, ever. It's so freaking good. I return to Zero more than almost any game. I have a few games I'm trying to kind of like pick away at their trophies. I'm trying to finish everything in Kiwami, which is a completion list where you have to like learn the rules of mahjong and stuff, and it's really tough.
No,
and I'm
not
like,
mahjong.
yeah, and it's gonna be one of those things that probably keeps me from doing that. But I just love that game so dearly, and Kiwami has that too. But yeah.
I've tried so many times to tackle mahjong all throughout my life. I mean, even
so
on like the old like Windows systems when they'd have built-in mahjong, I'm like, ooh, this looks cool. I want to try this. I'd click around, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. What's happening here? And so I'd quickly give up. And then I'd like play like Final Fantasy 14. They had mahjong. Like, this is my moment. I'm gonna learn mahjong. No, I'm not gonna learn mahjong.
Yeah.
And then I played Yakuza 0, and I'm like, all right, this is the gateway. This is what gets everyone learning mahjong. I still don't know how to play mahjong.
It's probably like, honestly, like you say that jokingly kind of, but I think you're right. Like, honestly, a lot of gamers' gateway to playing mahjong, I would think.
There's one game that could get me into mahjong, and that's Mahjong Soul, but only if they bring back the Hatsune Miku crossover.
Oh, okay. Gotta have that.
Yeah. Hatsune Miku would help me get through it. Learn the learning process.
Sure. Yeah, you just gotta have that sort of flavor.
I was gonna say this earlier when we were talking about Ninja Gaiden 2, but does it make me not a real gamer if my favorite Sega game is Project Diva Megamix Plus?
It counts.
It counts. I'm a real gamer. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Sega game. Whatever. It's whatever.
Sure.
I mean, they published it. I think that definitely counts. Yeah.
Cool.
Sega's been killing it lately anyway, so they got carte blanche to do whatever as far as I'm concerned. And I want to play the new stuff. Like the newest Yakuza game doesn't look like the most serious thing in the world. It's a Majima spinoff, which is interesting. But I want to play like a Dragon and Infinite Wealth, and I want that stable of knowledge of the Yakuza world to bring with me into those newer games, because I hear those ones are like the best. Zero's like, everyone thinks Zero is the best Yakuza game, but like for the turn-based stuff, those are the new version of it. I like to check those out at some point. But I want to earn it. I feel like I want to earn it my way through the series, and I'm kind of doing that by playing Kiwami 2. I hear 3 is like a really like hard like break check on like you playing the Yakuza series, because it's so, they haven't even remastered it really. Like it's that PS3 game, and Yakuza 1 and 2 have like loving remasters that are amazing, right? And so when you jump into 3, you're like, oh, this is a PS3 game. It's jank as hell, right? Yeah. But aside from that, I hear like 4, 5, 6 and on is amazing. So
yeah, those new RPG styled ones are supposed to be really good too. So
yeah, and they churn them out, man. Like those games, they just like pump those things out.
Crazy.
It's nuts, dude. Because they just put out Infinite Wealth, and they're turning around and doing another Yakuza game. It's nuts, man. They're so proficient because of their asset use. They're very judicious with that. But yeah, I really like Yakuza Kiwami 2. It seems like it might have the best story of the series besides Zero. Oh god, you gotta play Zero, dude. You have to play Zero. I want you to play Zero so bad.
I've played through about half of Zero.
Yeah, dude. The ending of Zero, though.
Yeah.
So good. Oh, the empty lot stuff.
Yeah, I was just getting into like where you're playing as the other guy, Mashima. So.
Yeah, Majima is like the highlight of that game.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
Majima is. It's before he kind of like goes off the deep end. Yeah.
I like him a lot better than the other guy.
Kiryu? Yeah. It's honestly, I did in Zero too, but Kiryu is like the main protagonist. You really get a soft spot for him as you play through it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Kiwami 1, and actually we were on Discord a couple times when I was playing through it, and I was actually streaming it out too.
Yep.
Really love that first one for sure, but Zero's like top. It's one of my top 20 games ever. Like
Yeah.
I've already moved it up. Um, but yeah, I'll be picking away at Kiwami 2. I haven't decided how much more I'm going to play of it right now because I'm playing like Avowed and Ender Magnolia and all kinds of stuff. Um, another two or three more check-ins is Persona 3 Reload. I was grousing about this to you in our chat. Um, it's finally starting. It's finally starting. Thank God, it's finally starting.
Yeah.
It's 20 hours of, I wouldn't say fluff, but they do not get to the point in Persona 3 Reload quick
It's
enough.
a very slow burn. I understand.
And I know why
completely.
that's the case, but like structurally, you're like, okay, I get it. Like I know what I'm supposed to do. What's the impetus for you becoming a C's member? And they finally got to it now,
Yeah.
with Mitsuru and her dad and stuff. And I'm like, okay, why couldn't this been like trailed at least a little bit? Like
Yeah.
they didn't even talk about it for hours. Like it was
Yeah.
16 hours I was in, and then they finally were like, "What are we doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" It just felt like it kind of beat around the bush for too long, and they could have changed that. I really think that is a major change because it hampered my enjoyment because the beginning of these early social links, especially with your classmates and stuff, they kind of suck. Like they kind of suck. Um, I love the old couple. Love them. I would die for them. Love the old couple at the bookstore. I even like Suimitsu. He's silly. The gourmet king is silly. I really like the death guy, or the dying guy at the shrine. He's really cool. Um, I've only met him once. I haven't talked to him for that long. I like Yuko. I just got Igus recently. I just did the beach stuff. So like I'm like slowly building. I'm not even like halfway through this game. I'm like 30% through from my total on PlayStation says. I'm like, oh my god, I have so much game left, right? But it's finally picking up, and I'm like, okay, I'm here. Like they're finally introducing the real antagonists of the game. Like I've heard the name Takaya, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's a guy I need to focus on, right?
Yeah.
I Kenemata just joined the dorm, for instance, so it's finally starting. I feel like I can finally look forward to playing Reload. I've actually been playing a fair amount of it. I put about 6-7 hours the last couple days. Really, it's so interesting how story heavy it is. It's not, you barely play Tartarus. Like you play Tartarus for like 1 or 2 days a month, and that's it because you just blow through the floors, and then you just spend the rest of your time doing links.
And that's
it's
what
really
I
interesting.
expect from like that type of game. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy that portion of it.
But
more
even
than the
four, in
Tartarus.
4, you are not blowing through it like
Yeah.
that. You're just not.
Yeah.
It's more balanced that way. And I think 5, you're doing even more combat sometimes.
No, you are.
Metaphor is like
5
yeah.
also has like the mini dungeon, the mementos.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the actual like memento stuff too is another thing that these games don't have, right?
yeah.
But it's finally getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I will see this through finally. I was just like, where is the, and you're like, yeah, it's got peaks and valleys, this and that. I'm like, yeah, but like I've played the other ones. This is different, I played about a quarter of 5 and beat 4, and 4 was not like that, making progress finally. And then another couple. Playing Pokemon Blue, I got the Moonstone. I'm in the Mount Moon location. I got the you got the Helix Stone. I got the Dome Fossil, so we can both trade when we get to that point.
Yep.
So when we get there, we'll have those. I'm trying to like keep track of those like version specific things for Pokemon Red versus Blue, what the differences are. I think that might be the only major difference besides the edition specific Pokemon, but I'm not sure. So, but yeah, making progress on Pokemon as well. Not much to say about it. It's Pokemon. You played Red and Blue, I'm sure. I have too, but it's been forever since I played, and I've never played the Game Boy versions. I played Fire Red. So
They're fun. They're fun. I played.
They
the
are
first
fun.
Time
They
I
are
played
fun.
them was like on a phone emulator, and I remember really.
Yeah, same.
So.
I played through Fire Red on a phone emulator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. It was fun. I mean, it was touch control, right? But it was fun. The virtual D-pad or whatever you want to say. And then finally for like the dabble stuff I've been playing is Pentiment. I really started Pentiment this weekend, also by Obsidian, and I mentioned it a few weeks back and kind of like the games I want to really dive into this year. Pentiment was one of them. It's very story heavy. It's one of those games I feel like I gotta go like, okay, I am focusing to do just this, and that's fine. Um, and I really like it. It's super well written, super well told. Um, it's from the director of New Vegas. He went out and did this, and he also did Pillars of Eternity, Deadfire as well. Um, what's his name? Josh something or other. He's very talented game maker. And Obsidian, they're just consistent, man. They're just so consistent. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Like they feel like Xbox's Insomniac. They just like they can kind of do whatever, and they do it well. They ship. They do it on time, and they're just consistent, man. Like you got to look at Obsidian's body of work. They have Avowed, Out of Worlds, Pentiment on a smaller scale. Um, they have Grounded as well. Like all this within the last 5 years is nuts. Like they really deliver. Um, and it's just interesting to see them kind of spread their wings that way, and they become like Xbox's point man on that stuff. Where like Insomniac feels like that for Sony, where they're just shipping. They just ship, dude. Like they have a bunch of teams and they just put out games, and they're all pretty good, if not awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pentiment's great. So,
yeah, I gotta check it out for sure. It's definitely on the list. So
it's something like you said for Persona. It's not a long game, but like takes a while to get into. You got to really be okay with sitting and playing through it. It's a very narrative heavy game.
Okay.
Yeah. As for the dabbling, that's kind of all I've been doing for that. I wanted to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 2's horrific tutorialization. Horrific. It is one of the worst things I've had in a video game.
Ew.
Straight up. Dude. Okay, I love Xenoblade 1. I like parts of 2. But the game doesn't tell you how to play it right, man. It's crazy. I'm about, 7 hours in? And I've had to unlearn everything it's told me. I've gone to different facts, different wikis, different YouTube videos, and people are straight up saying, yeah, they don't tell you how to play this game. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
And they don't have a tutorial glossary to go back to. And it doesn't even matter because the tutorialization's bad. So I'm basically having to skip through a bunch of tutorial boxes and go like, okay, apparently all this is crap. So I've watched like multiple explainers of how to get into the combat of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I'm like, this was not told to me in the game. It's insane. I've never seen a game do that, be so poorly tutorialized. And there's like different stats in the game that govern different things and different items. And they're like, yeah, this attack stat doesn't mean what you think it does. It actually does this. And I'm like, what is this game, dude? What is this game? I don't understand. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was not like this. It's very, very simple. It's got like the positional based auto attacking that the first one does, but this one has like art canceling into different arts. You have to have pouches for different boost items and percentages. You have to have blades on your characters, which are specific weapons and different elemental arts. And it's just like, it boggles the mind what they wanted to do with this game. And it can be fun, but it's just like a headache mostly. And I want to play through it because I like Xenoblade 1 so much. I'm like, I heard 3 so good, but like 3 has some parts of 2 in it. I want to finish 2, but it's really pushing back on me in a major way. I've never seen a worse tutorialization in a game. It's shocking to me.
That's a shame.
It's shocking. Yeah, it's crazy. Have you seen anything worse than that I'm explaining to you in a game?
Just like the yeah, I don't know.
Or the game is straight up telling you wrong information. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
It's so
I
foreign
know
to me. It's so
I
foreign to me.
know that I've experienced games like that. I understand what you're saying. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head,
Yeah.
honestly.
And that's
I
good,
think
though.
the
That
last
means
game that I
that's good.
played that did that. Don't let this stop you from playing it. Drakengard 3
Drakengard 3.
does
It
that
always comes back to
sometimes.
Drakengard 3.
But the only time it really happened was like during boss battles where like they would like give you a hint and make you think you had to do one thing to beat the boss, but then you had to do something entirely different, and I had to look at it a couple times.
That's bad design though.
It is, and I talk about it in my review.
Okay.
I don't sugarcoat it, but
okay. I don't think I got like halfway through. Maybe it was towards the back end. I didn't hear that part, but yeah, it's tough because I want to play this game and beat it. I feel like I have a good understanding of what I need to do, and I just need to. There's different difficulty settings. I think I'm going to put it on custom and just go. Like I'm just not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
Play through the story stuff because I hear the story's great, especially towards the back end. It takes a while to get there, and it's very ecchi in some ways. But I hear it comes through in a way that Xenoblade does. Because Xenoblade is a slow burn too. Like the first one, pretty slow burn. It's not until you like have your first encounter with the final boss that it really unravels for you. Like in retrospect, Xenoblade Chronicles is so much better than when I was playing it. It's hard to explain what I mean. But if you were to play through it, like everything gets recontextualized in a way where you're like, oh, things are literally not how it was, right? Yeah. The party members also in 2 are just not as good as 1. There's going to be different party members in the DLC for Torna that I'm going to play through. Basically, in Torna, the DLC, you play as like the enemy faction, the Torna group. You play as them, I think. And it's kind of like a game unto itself. It's like a 20, 30-hour expansion. So I have a long way to go before I even sniff Xenoblade 3. I hear the payoff for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, especially the DLC, is amazing. I
like the opening of Xenoblade 3. That's like the only opening of a Xenoblade game that I actually enjoyed. But I played through that and enjoyed it. I'm a little bit biased because the protagonist is named Noah, and I think I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I do like it when game characters are named Noah. It's such a common name.
Sure.
You'd think I'd see it a lot, but I don't see it a whole lot. So.
Do you ever scroll through Crunchyroll and look at Al Noah Zero and you go, oh.
Yes. Hey. I have to watch it at some point because it's on my list because it has Noah in the name. I'm like, I gotta watch it. It's made for me. They made it about me.
I thought that was funny. I looked at it the other day, and I could just imagine you doing the Leo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He goes, "Hey," and he points at the screen. It's me. So funny. I literally was thinking that as I was scrolling today, watching Solo Leveling. I was like, "No, I've seen this and gone like, yeah." It never happens to me though, because my name's Power. That never happens. So.
No, Chainsaw Man. There you go. You got your representation.
Actually, that is the only time that's happened. I will grant you. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, but she's a goal. I'm not a goal.
Well, you gotta take what you can get, right? I mean,
I guess
the first time I actually saw a Noah in an anime, it was like a small child, so like a little girl.
Well.
So
a girl named Noah?
Yeah. Okay. No, I actually
well, that's not actually that.
Yeah, I knew a girl named Noah in college. So we had like we had a whole council of Noahs in college. We would like. Once in a while, we'd get together at like the cafeteria at college, and we'd discuss Noah things, right? Because that's what Noahs do. So.
That is.
We would do that. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. There were so many of us because it's such a common name. So.
Yeah, you guys go up to Noah. How are you? I'm good. Noah.
How about you, Noah? Yeah.
That's gotta be so fun for you guys.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it.
That might be the cutest thing I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty adorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all the dabbling I've been doing. I mentioned so closing the book on Xenoblade 2. I will finish it. It's gonna be a while. The tutorialization is terrible. The game seems to be okay. Yeah. But yeah, and it runs terrible on a stinky Switch. Hopefully the new Switch 2 will make it
That's
better.
An older game.
And I'm excited to play Xenoblade Chronicles X too. That's coming in March.
Yeah, I'm interested in that game as well.
So. Yeah. And it's not a story heavy too. I think you'll like it. Yeah. To kind of cap off my backlog stuff, it's just like talking about Doom. Like that's just a lot of stuff I've been doing is playing through the Doom series writ large. And you've probably played at least Doom 1, at least a little bit. Everyone has.
Yeah, I've completed that game.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I've
Doom One
keep the
is a
story
classic,
alive.
man. It's great, and I actually play that today. I'm running through the original Doom.
Yeah,
It's the one of the best games ever made.
I love
Obviously,
it.
it's
Yeah,
so good.
boomer
It's so
shooter.
good.
It's good stuff.
It's yeah, it is a boomer shooter, but
Yeah,
it's like
is the
the boomer
boomer
shooter.
shooter. Yeah.
It is. Um, and it's so interesting to see like the differences and the similarities between it and like Doom the reboot and then
Yeah,
Eternal.
that
They
reboot's
feel
great
so
too.
similar.
Yeah.
They feel so similar. It's crazy how well they captured that gameplay flow. Like feels like you're skating, you know? Like
Yeah.
it feels so great. And just to talk about Doom 2016 a little bit, that's like one of the best shooter campaigns ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was such an amazing game when
Runs
it came
great on
out because
Switch, by the
nobody
way.
it runs great on Switch. It has a great Switch port by
Yeah.
Panic Button, who,
Yeah.
they did I think they did the Witcher port as well. They do masterwork
Yeah.
with the Switch. They're like, we're gonna put this thing on here. It's gonna run well.
Yeah.
And it's like the quality's not great, but I think it runs like pretty solid 30 or something on the
It
Switch.
felt good to play. It felt really good to play on
Yeah,
Switch. I played
it's
through that game on
pretty.
Switch.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Doom 2016 is one of the tightest, most well-designed campaigns ever.
Yep.
It's like up there with like Titanfall 2, Half-Life 2's campaign, Modern Warfare 2, like all the twos. It's up there. Like Doom 2016 is a can't miss video game. Like, and playing, I did a completionist run. I got everything in that game. I was trying to get all the trophies. I had a couple bugged glitch trophies, which really sucked. So it kind of killed my enjoyment of that. But I played it again. I got everything. It just didn't keep track of some of my items. So basically, like, you get these weapon upgrades, which you probably remember, for your alternate fires for your guns. If you die and it saves at a certain point after getting those items, it'll save that you have picked up the item, but in the world itself, you have to go back and register it again and get that alt fire back after your death. And if you forget to do that, you are locked from getting it the rest of the game. So at the end of the game, I was missing 2 alternate fires for my guns. And they were somewhere in those levels. I have no idea. It was a glitch, and it's a known glitch, and I'm surprised they have never fixed it. But I got them all. I definitely got them all. It just didn't register, right? For the 1 or 2 deaths that I had in between saving it. Minor hiccups aside for that stuff, which is really disappointing. I got everything in the game. I got all the little bobbleheads and everything. I did all the challenges. I did everything that you could do in that game. Besides the multiplayer stuff, which I did trophies for when it was active, basically. So I was ready to platinum it. If I wanted to do it again, I'd have to play it again. It's not going to be right now. So anyway, it's a great game. It's so good. I think in some ways it's better than Eternal. In some ways it's worse, but not by much. I think it's a pretty perfect game. You can get in and play it and just have a great time. It is such a great evolution of the Doom, original Doom formula, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I guess. What do you think of Doom 2016 before I hop into Eternal?
Yeah, I loved the game. It was just one of those games I just plowed through whenever I got it for Switch, because it was back when I didn't really have a PC powerful enough to play it. I didn't have a console full enough to play it, but then they released the thing on Switch. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that lying around. I'll just play it on that. And that was a lot of fun. I will say though, your anecdote about getting stuck in 100% completion reminded me of a little anecdote of space chimps for the Nintendo DS.
Oh boy, the old gem. I remember this thing kicking around.
Yeah. I played the heck out of that game, but there was a glitch in the game. Like, the game just... There was no way to 100% that game, because one of the collectibles was, like, just... They decided not to put it in, spawn it in the location it was supposed to spawn. And so you could never get 100% completion in the game. I remember running around on old GameFAQs forums and learning that. And I was so upset. I was like, Space Chimp?
That's crazy. And they're probably like, this is a licensed game. Who cares, right?
Yeah, I cares. Like, that was, I was a completionist kid.
Obviously.
That's what you did as a kid. You completed your games, because you got like one every year. And so, you had to complete that dang thing.
Handful, yeah, for sure. I remember playing a bunch of old crappy games like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
I played that game to death, and I'm like, this game
Meet the
sucks.
Robinsons for GameCube. Oh man,
That was a good game. That game was great though.
it was a good
All
game.
the Disney interactive games from
Yeah.
that era, like Cars, the video game, is
Yeah.
amazing. That
Fair
game's
enough.
awesome. That game is an open world game. Cars is
Wow.
super good. Anyway,
Yeah,
a
a lot of
those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those are great. Like
Yeah.
the Incredibles games are awesome.
Yep.
Incredibles and Rise of the Underminer is a great game.
Yeah, I still never got around to that one. I need to check that one out.
Yeah.
I played the
I'd like to talk about that
Game
sometime,
Boy
yeah.
Advance port a little bit once.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, Rise of the Underminer is good. I wish they
Yeah.
made that just the sequel to the Incredibles. That would have been the way to go. But whatever.
Yeah, I forgot about
Anyway.
that. I don't remember a single plot point of that sequel, to be honest. So
Yeah, it's not about what it should have been about, which is the Underminer. 'Cause
yeah,
that's how
that's
first
all
one
I
ends.
remember is the Underminer. I can't even remember a single plot point of the actual sequel. You
Yeah,
just reminded me
the-
that
the
sequel exists. I didn't even remember it exists until now.
It made $1 billion. Everyone watched it. I saw it in the
I
theaters. and
watched
barely
it,
know.
I'm sure, but I don't remember it. I don't remember.
It was
looking
very
at it,
forgettable.
so-
It's not like the first one. It's very
Yeah.
forgettable.
Oh man,
That first one
one's
is-
amazing. Easily one of
Oh.
the best Pixar things ever.
It's one of the best superhero movies, straight up.
Yeah.
Like it just is. It's so good.
So well paced.
It's
The family setting is just such a it's such an interesting movie for sure.
Well, they do like the superhero lore really well. Like they just everything feels grounded in a way, and it feels like an adult family movie. It's plenty for each side, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like I like it when movies like family movies feel dangerous sometimes, and you kind of have to like kids have to ask parents questions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's thought provoking. I love that
Yeah.
stuff. Like when
But
Syndrome.
it's in a safe like environment as well.
It is,
for
right.
those,
Yeah.
Questions. So that's a good.
Yeah, like
place for
Syndrome
it.
kidnaps Jack. I remember
Yeah.
having conversations with my parents, and like the dead superheroes and like what they were
Yeah.
going to court for, and it's
It has
a
a
very
lot in a
political
kids movie. Yeah, there's a lot of
movie. It is.
real world things going on for a kids. A movie aimed at kids, I should say. Obviously, all content is created by adults, right? Right, working adults create these things. Kids don't create these things. So that's kind of how I view sort of like when I'm watching a kids show. It's like, yeah, well, an adult created this, right? Like a guy, probably older than me,
Yeah.
created this thing, aimed it towards
Yeah.
kids, but still, it's going to have its own, unique artistic value, and it's going to have its own, interesting plot points and, interesting humor thrown in, but that Incredibles movie is absolute, like, one of the pinnacles of
I like
Pixar.
it when. Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
Pixar does this better than anybody. We'll get back to Doom in a second, but like, it's I like it when movies don't talk down to
Yeah.
kids and they don't insult their intelligence, and that's
Yeah.
one of those.
Oh yeah.
Just to kind of wrap it up on that, but like, the Incredibles games are great. The Buena Vista games in general are great. Like that era up between 2000, 2007 and Disney games are really good.
Yeah,
So I like to talk about those sometimes. I think
They
that'd be
couldn't
fun.
stop winning. Yeah, I like just
The Finding Nemo
hidden
game was great
gem,
too.
Yes.
That game's great.
I loved the Game Boy Advance version of that, and
Mhm.
Game Boy Advance version also had Finding Nemo 2, but it wasn't the Finding Nemo 2. It was
It was
again
just the sequel.
a made up sequel for the game, series, so that they could have
Wow.
another tie-in game, and it was about the fish from the fish tank escaping. The rest of the fish trying to escape, because you remember they teased those fish like escaping, so it's all about them escaping, trying to find their way back into the ocean. But it's presented as a mini game collection, almost a la WarioWare, to where
What?
but it's not like short burst mini games, but they're really well designed mini games, and I had a lot of fun with that game as a kid. I adored
Wild.
that game. Yeah, great.
Your
great
Game Boy-
movie tie-in.
your Game Boy collection is really interesting. I'd like to talk. I'd like you to talk about that.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun
think
ones. I got like Larry Boy and the Bad Apple. That's a good one.
Yeah, dude. I got that game on PS2 recently.
Yeah, that Game Boy Advance port is basically Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the PS2 game is like a 3D platformer. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
By Crave. Crave did that. I don't know if they did the Game Boy game as well, but
I don't know. Yeah.
Man, licensed games of old children's IP. That would be an awesome thing to talk about.
There's just so many good ones. Like even I've got
there's a lot.
I've got Bugs Life back there. Oh my goodness, I adore Bugs Life
for the PS1.
What a good game. Yeah, I also have it on for PC back there. I have the old PC. Yeah. That's what I played as a kid. Played it on PC. But recently I was at Game World and I saw Bugs Life.
Yeah, Game World.
They're selling it for like 99 cents. I'm like, you guys gotta charge more for Bugs Life. This is one of the best games on the PS1.
It's no Iggy's Wrecking Balls, all right?
Well,
it's no Iggy's Wrecking Balls. Nothing else.
No, but that game though, that's like the template, right? Traveler's Tales made that game.
Yeah,
Bugs Life, and that is like the template for all of the 3D Disney games moving forward. That was like I think like the first one that was like a full 3D Disney tie-in game,
because they had Toy Story 2 after that too, and that's very similar to Bugs Life.
Yeah,
and that was also on the PS1, I want to say.
Yeah,
because the Toy Story 2 followed Buzz Lightyear around, doing all that. So, and then,
I really love that Bugs Life game though. I just played through it recently, and I'm like, no, this game just holds up. Like this is just a good game.
That's cool. I'm not a fan of the movie that much, but
the game is just fantastic. Yeah. Nobody really liked the movie that much. I mean, it's okay.
Nah, not really. It was just the second Pixar movie.
Yeah, it was no Toy Story, but the game, is fantastic. So
yeah, for sure. That kind of era was like Xbox, PS2 era, GameCube era, right?
Even PS1 era, like that.
Yeah, but like the Disney like licensed game, not Renaissance, but like that area there, like that area of gaming was just, I just lived in that area. If we could have stayed there, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next thing. Like that brings me to my next topic. Like Doom 3 was an Xbox game, right?
Yeah.
It remakes Doom 1, which I had no idea it was doing. It's really interesting. And I'm like, okay, so
and that was Bethesda,
is this
right?
a sequel?
Doom 3?
Okay, so no, Doom 3 is still id when it's id, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was before they got bought.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. If not, it might be ZeniMax. I can't. Wait, was that Activision actually?
No, it's id Software. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, was it just id Publishing? Maybe I don't know.
Published by Activision.
Activision. I was right. Yeah, I thought it was Activision.
It, yeah.
Yeah. So
which one am I thinking?
Played Doom 1. Doom 2 I haven't touched yet, but Doom 3 is a remake of Doom 1 actually, and it's like kind of gritty and it's not as arcadey. And there was like, it was kind of like a horror game in some ways. It's kind of fascinating. It's not like storyline connected to anything current Doom is doing, because all the new stuff is connected to the old games from Doom 1 to 64 to Doom and Doom Eternal. 3 is kind of like this weird outlier that I kind of want to like pick at a little bit before the Dark Ages to kind of see what direction they wanted to go. That was still when John Carmack was there running the company, who did Doom 1 and 2 with the original team.
Oh, they put Doom 3 on Switch. That's funny.
They did, yeah. And there's a old port of Doom 3, I think, for the 360 called the BFG edition that nobody liked. And so they like put it out again recently and just called it Doom 3 on new consoles. Yep. And there was like old PC mods for like the flashlight mod where because normally you have to hold a flashlight and then shoot, and then it'd be dark again. And so people were making mods to put the flashlight on your gun because the game doesn't offer that. It's flashlight and then shoot, right? And it's just
so
not. I think it
took no, you're good. They took a page out of sort of like survival horror in the way that they wanted to
they went a different direction
a little bit.
Yeah, it's even nowadays it's a pretty impressive game for the time because I think that
Mm.
game was what, oh, 02, oh 03, oh 04. It's around then. It's
Yeah.
old game, old PC game. Um,
Yeah, it's
it's early
oh 04.
aughts.
Oh 04, yeah.
Oh 04, yeah, early
Wow.
aughts. It was landmark for
Impressive.
lighting specifically. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, playing a couple minutes of that. Honestly, I did not really dive into it. I'm like, wow, this game's still like, because they didn't do too much to it on the remaster front. They kind of just made it run stable frame rate and they put it back out. And they've kind of done different iterations with it over the years, right?
Yeah.
But it runs good. It's interesting. It's a different vibe than those first Doom games. Um, it's fascinating, and it's like I said, not connected to anything story related because the Doomslayer in the original is the Doomslayer in the new games, like the same guy. And they get really into the weeds, especially in Eternal with it. Um, and people think Doom 64 is just a Doom port. Doom 64 is its own game. It's not a port of Doom. People think that you put 64 on like they just put Doom on Nintendo 64. Not the case.
Yeah.
And in fact, it ties directly into Doom 2016 almost more than the first and second Doom do.
Hmm.
It's really crazy. Like they always put more lore into it than you think they do,
Yeah.
right? Um, and yeah, I talked about Doom 2016, and I'll talk a little bit about Eternal. It's better in some ways than Doom is. I think the combat puzzle is tough to get a grip of because
Yeah.
everything system wide feeds into each other.
Okay.
Like, there's different ways to get ammo back, different ways to get armor back, different ways to get health back, and you have to do specific things in specific orders to get them from
Hmm.
enemies. So, like, your chainsaw has a few fuel pips you have to find throughout the world.
Yep.
You have to chainsaw small enemies to get a bunch of ammo, right? You have to flame belch enemies to get shields. They sweat shields until you pop them, and then they give you a bunch of shields. For health, it's glory killing. So
Yeah.
as you're playing through Eternal, like the combat puzzle gets really, really complex where you're having to do critical hits on enemies now, where you have to disable certain functions. Like the Arachnotron has a gun on top of its massive brain head thing, and it shoots at you. You have to precision shot, like almost like jump and no scope them to kind of pop that to do some real damage to it. Because without it, it'll be throwing that at you. But imagine that times like 50, where there's a bunch of enemies that have critical parts you have to hit, and it's very like precise, very fast. If you stand in one place, you're dead. Um, like it's a it's way more complex of a dance than Doom 2016 is, and I like it for that, and I kind of hate it in some ways for that. Like there's some things that suck about Eternal that the first one does better. Like for instance, the Marauder enemy is such a pain in the ass, so tough to deal with because he's the think of him as like a Doomslayer himself. He has a shotgun, he has a shield, he has a long range, he has a short range. You have to be standing mid range to him to even bait an attack that you can counter. And there's a lot of countering in Doom Eternal, but he becomes an enemy that's hard to deal with because he's got a lot of health. You have to stagger him only when his eyes flash green, and then you could shoot him to get him into the stagger state. Every game, every part of the combat dance feeds into itself. So it's kind of like overlapping until you're doing this bloody dance of death where you're just trying to stay alive and understand where you're at in spatial awareness to your arena, right? It's a amazing game. It exhausted me at times. It's tough to play at times. The story is actually pretty good. There's some weird like archaic systems in there, like there's a hub world in there for some reason. It's a very interesting game. I see why people didn't take to it as much as original Doom or Doom 2016.
Yeah.
But Eternal is better in almost every way when it comes to the combat stuff and the story stuff. But there's some drawbacks in terms of like design of like fights and all that I think they should fix in Doom the Dark Ages. Um, and to kind of cap off Eternal, I played through the Ancient God DLC, which is very tough, very hard. And it's there's a bunch of lives you have to get throughout the game, the DLC, and if you run out of those, you have to checkpoint basically. And the original game's not like that, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure. Well, that's not true. There's a bunch of one-up lives there, but like if you're proficient at that, you don't die as much. I was playing on the second easiest difficulty. I wasn't playing that hard, but it was still tough. I was just kind of like blowing through it. But the Ancient Gods DLC is like 4 times harder. They throw so many more enemies at you for longer amounts of time that do way more damage to you. And it's like you could be fighting straight up for 20 to 30 minutes in an arena before you're done in one combat encounter. And each DLC is like 4 to 5 hours in length. So like you're really fighting, but until you reach the end. The final boss of Doom Eternal's Ancient Gods DLC pissed me off so bad because he's like the Marauder, but like 4 times as hard with more health, and he has one stagger opportunity. That's it. So it's a slog. It took me an hour and a half to beat him just to finish the campaign. Um, I think Doom Eternal has problems for sure, but like I love the idea behind it. Like you feel like a fighter jet, literally. That's how they wanted you to feel. In the first one, you felt kind of like I don't know, glory killing machine, and in the new one, you're feeling like a tank. You're standing and fighting. That's what they said. So I understand why it's not as mainstream as the first one is. I think the new one's going to make some good changes for that for regular Doom fans. But Eternal for like the it feels like Sekiro, like the game style they want you to play, you play it, you feel that tailored, authored experience. You're like, this is great. I see why people find this not accessible because it's super hard to understand and learn and play through because it's exhausting, right? Um, Doom Eternal is a great game. It's not better than Doom 2016 in my opinion, but it's like right there for sure.
Yeah.
So,
So would you say that Doom 3 does the survival horror elements as well? Doom 3 has Iggy's Wrecking Balls? Because, I mean, that game is
that I can't say because I haven't
survival
played
horror
Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
masterpiece.
Have not.
Yeah.
Have not played Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
Yeah, it's pretty scary trying to survive in Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
I think it's honestly scarier that we've talked about Iggy's Wrecking Balls for as long as we've had. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a lot of Iggy's Wrecking Balls. Yeah. I've said balls enough times too now.
It's pretty terrifying, to be honest. The world is like very dystopian.
So scared.
So, yeah.
Well, that's actually a good segue. That's a good segue. So enough about Doom. I will probably get into more length of it if I decide to do the retrospective. It depends on my mileage. I'm not sure where I'll be at, but it's a long process. I have a few more games to beat. The originals aren't too long, but I honestly I did the hard work already. Like Doom Eternal, it took me about 24 hours to beat everything.
Yeah.
So including the DLCs. But yeah, Iggy's Wrecking Balls is a good segue to
it's always a good
kind of our topic. Yeah, it's kind of our topic. And I also wanted to talk about something else at some point, but it's not that important. I kind of want to get into the topic a little bit. I guess I don't know how you want to handle this. I want to talk about the best Switch games since the Switch 2. Okay, well, the Switch. The Switch.
Sorry.
Not what's on this. We're not putting.
I mean, it's on the Switch. Like you can
Ocarina's on the
Nintendo
Switch. Doesn't count.
Well, that's not
Ocarina
a very good game compared to like Iggy's Wrecking
All right.
Balls.
All right. I can't with you today. Iggy's Wrecking Balls. I will begin to slander him if you make me go down this path.
No, you can't do that.
How do you want to handle this? Do you want to have a rank list, or do you want to have just a number of games you want to pick from? Because I think we should both pick some amount of games.
Are we doing this now?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we could just rattle off the top of the head. Like, what is your favorite 5 Switch games? Like the games you have to play on the Switch.
All right.
I mean, I can just rattle off my head because I've been thinking about the topic, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, like I guess the criteria for this is like games that are on the Switch, like games that were made specifically for the Switch. I think it really is the thing. Like I don't think I would count Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, or whatever.
Sure,
I wouldn't count the remasters.
Sure,
I wouldn't count the 3D Mario pack-in. That doesn't count. You know.
No, I've got you. Yeah, I can.
New games for the Switch. Like I think it's pretty easy, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of like 5 in mind? You kind of want to just rattle off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think I do too. So I'll let you go ahead if you got something for me.
All right. We'll put number 5 will put Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think these games are good games in a bad shell, right? Like, I
100%.
think that there's so many technical problems with them. I get that, but I think the core gameplay of Pokemon is still in these games and fleshed out in a real superb way. I've put a lot of hours into them, and yeah, I think that there's a lot of like things that they took from Legends Arceus that I think they'll and I'll go ahead and just put Legends Arceus on this tier as well, on like the fifth.
Yeah.
Tier,
I think it belongs there too.
Yeah, I think that like those games go hand in hand. I honestly don't know which one I like better, Legends Arceus or Scarlet Violet. I like both for different things, so
I do too. Yeah, I think gameplay wise, I prefer Arceus because I
Yeah.
just love the in the field throwing the ball action. Like I just love
Right.
that.
Yeah,
The
that feels
precision
really good.
throws.
They got to
feels
bring that
so
back
good.
for the next Legends game for sure. They
Have to. Yeah, I love that about Arceus. Like,
Yeah.
if they don't bring that back in Legends, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah.
It feels like the way forward for Pokemon. Like
Yeah.
it feels, besides the MMO ishness of the interconnectivity between
Yeah.
players, I think going through a field physically throwing a Pokeball is so magical.
Yeah.
Like I never got tired of doing it.
They need to marry the Legends gameplay of just going through a field, throwing Pokeballs, catching Pokemon, with the MMO connectedness, because that was the one sore spot for me with Legends Arceus, is that it wasn't multiplayer, so I couldn't play it with friends. I couldn't battle with friends in the game.
Right.
It was just
strictly
me.
single player. Yeah.
Yep, strictly single player, no trading. So.
Yeah.
But which isn't
I
bad.
kind of
It's
like that
it's
about it though.
It's a unique experience, yeah. And there's definitely like times where I wish some of the older games had more single player elements, because those are hard to go back to if you don't have somebody going back with you, because you're locked out of certain Pokemon like your Machamps, your Alakazams, if you don't have somebody to trade with. So.
Yeah, I do appreciate in Arceus specifically, and I think I like it better than Scarvy, specifically because of how unique it feels.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the setting is just really great. I love the uniqueness of it's kind of like old-timey, like frontier Pokemon catching. I love that. Like the old-ass balls you throw, like they're wooden balls. That's awesome. Like everything feels like it's on a ranch, like your main area. It feels like you're going out in the field, pitching a tent, and you are just finding some cool bugs, cool frogs, and cool dogs. Like I love that about it. It feels like an adventure. It feels like a real adventure, and it, technically it's not the sharpest. It's way leagues better than Scarvy, even still. It runs at a relatively stable frame rate from time to time. You can see them having a problem with Arceus, and people, the quality of the game, notwithstanding, the quality of the visuals are pretty low in Arceus for sure.
Yeah.
But I think as a game, I think I prefer it over Scarvy.
Okay.
I love the kind of what's his name, Volo? Is that his name?
Yeah, Volo,
I love that character.
He's
the fact that he's a
great character.
He's a great antagonist, and the story that they actually tell with him is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's one of the more interesting Pokemon games, just start to finish, because it really feels like the first Pokemon expedition. It feels that way. They're like, hey, you have this magic cell phone, like start cataloging these things, man. Like that's how it feels.
Yeah.
I love that about it.
It's an isekai.
It is. While you talk about Scarvy, I'm gonna grab my Switch. So go ahead.
Yeah. Scarvy. It's pretty impressive game. I mean, they bring a lot of the elements that are great from Legends into Scarvy. So I like a lot of like the story beats, and I think it's a fun little romp. I mean, it's not as deep as like a 4th gen or 5th gen but I think that the story that is there is interesting enough.
I think it is pretty good. I do
I
think the story is good.
yeah, and I especially like the main storyline. I think gets really interesting towards the end.
Hmm.
And the DLCs were also pretty fun to run through. I
I
wouldn't.
really like that first one.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So it's
Hmm.
just a fun game. It's a fun game. Scarvy is a fun game, I would say,
Yeah.
to run through. But yeah,
Yeah.
that'd probably be my fifth entry.
Hmm.
So moving.
I think that probably shares it for me. I think you would
Yeah.
probably say like Scarvy's probably your fifth,
Yeah.
mostly,
Yeah.
because that's the one you played more.
Yeah.
I honestly, if I was putting a five, I think Arceus is my five, to
Okay.
be completely honest
Yeah.
with you.
It's a great
Because
game.
great game. I am mostly a single player first player of video
Mm-hmm.
games. So it felt like the Pokemon game I always wanted. It really feels that way. Um, but I wish I had some connectivity with other players. But the fact that they still let you, still import Pokemon is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially when they allowed for all the some of the legendaries to come in.
Mm-hmm.
That feels really good too. Um, Arceus is like super good. I think ZA besides the new Mario game is my most anticipated
Yeah.
Switch game because I
I'm pretty
I
sure they're
want to see
bringing
them
back
do with
the
that.
Mega Evolutions as well, and if that's the case,
Okay.
it's going to be really awesome. I love the Mega
Yeah.
Evolutions, so we haven't seen those in
Yeah,
since 3DS,
I,
so
yeah, I'm really excited for what they're gonna do.
yeah.
Just with the Legend series, I want to see what they're gonna do. I don't know if they're gonna do if they are they gonna make those like the single player ones primarily, or are they
Yeah.
going to incorporate? I wonder.
I'm guessing that they're going to make those the single player ones and
Yeah,
make them
could
more
be.
story focused and like, mechanics focused, and then have
Yeah,
the mainline series be more like, as always, like interconnectivity, because the games have always been about pushing the envelope for interconnectivity and
hmm
community and communication. They always have the guy at the beginning town that's like, technology is amazing, now we can do this. So
yeah,
yeah,
right.
so it's fun.
Yeah, that counts for my number five. So what's your number four?
Cool. Yeah, and number four, I'm gonna give it to Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Oh, love that pick.
I
Love that
loved
pick.
it. It's not as great for me as Animal Crossing GameCube. I don't think anything can ever beat Animal Crossing GameCube for me in
Yeah,
terms of coziness. That
so
is a
special.
yeah, that's a comfort game for me. But
Hmm.
um, and I don't even know if it compares to my second favorite Animal Crossing game, New Leaf. I really liked New Leaf on the 3DS, but
Hmm.
New Horizons it's its own game, really. Like it definitely changes up the Animal Crossing formula. In some ways for the better, in some ways for the worse. I think it becomes more of like a grind in ways.
It does.
Doing like
Yeah.
dailies and things like that is like, turns it a little bit, makes it feel a little bit live servicey. But
Yeah, especially when you finish the game for the first time, like when you get KK to your town, it
yeah,
feels like, well, let's go do the things I need to do today and then build towards what I'm trying to accomplish and
yeah.
go through the shops. And it feels
But
very rote that
they
way.
give you a
Yeah.
lot of nice sandboxy tools for shaping your island. A
They
lot more than
do. They
any
do.
other game has. Like, you can literally terraform, and it's a lot of fun in that regard, right? You can build what you want.
Yeah.
But it just isn't as, like, I guess, focused of an experience anymore as a New Leaf, as a Animal Crossing GameCube. So,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it's fun in its own ways, and it's got a lot of nice collection mechanics. It's got the diving, it's got the fishing, it's got the bug catching, it's got the. I think they brought back the paintings as well, the painting collecting. So
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
Yeah, it's there with
yeah,
red. Yeah.
yep. So I
Hmm.
love the paintings. I think the paintings are like one of my favorite things to collect, because I love like that like fine art, things like that. So I love
Yeah.
seeing like them in the museum and like, ooh. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
I love I love Animal Crossing so much. I got the specific Animal Crossing Switch.
Yeah. Yep. That's
It's
awesome.
really nice, and it was
Yeah.
super rare when I found it.
Yeah.
It probably isn't as rare anymore, but
Sure.
when I bought it, it was like an extra $100
Yeah.
just for the limited edition.
But
Love Animal Crossing.
yeah, that's my fourth pick. It's a
It's
fantastic game.
it's higher for me. That's higher for me.
Yeah.
I will tell you when we get to it.
Fair enough.
Number 4 for me, I've I've tossed this up. So I'm gonna impose a rule on myself
Mm-hmm.
because there's one exception that is not a Nintendo game.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Into the Breach. That's one of my favorite
Mm.
games ever.
Sure.
It is one of I consider only a few games like truly perfect. This gets very close to that.
Hmm.
It is a masterpiece in the puzzle tactical genre. I'm not going to count it because it's not a Nintendo game proper. That's kind of what this is the rule I'm posing on myself.
Yeah.
Like if
No,
you're buying
I'm
a Switch,
imposing that on myself as
Yeah.
well. Otherwise, Dark
right,
Souls would be number one. But
right,
because I have played a
um,
lot of Dark Souls 1 on the Switch, just to be
sure,
clear.
and also like no remaster, no remake. So I played
Yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles 1 on here. I'm not counting that as a
Yeah.
Wii game.
That's true.
So Into the Breach, honorable mention. I wish it was there. I'm just not going to do that. My number 4 is Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread
Yeah,
is
that's
one
a
of the
great pick.
best. It's one of the best Metroidvanias ever.
Yeah.
Aside from the studio that made it, Mercury Steam, there's been issues with them as a company in the past, especially with the Lords of Shadow games. They really came into their own with this one, and I guess you can say like Nintendo really cracked the whip on them. It feels like a very
Did
very smooth iteration from like the 2D side-scrolling Metroid games.
they worked on quite a few things for Nintendo on the 3DS, didn't they? Like, didn't they work on that really weird um third person tactical RPG like codename
Are you thinking of?
Steam?
Oh, you think of Project? I think that was Intelligent Systems. I'm pretty
Was
sure they
that
did
Intelligent Systems? Okay.
I'm like 85% sure.
Did they work on
Maybe I'm
maybe
wrong.
like the Dylan's Rolling games then? I feel like they worked on something
Uh,
on the 3DS.
I'm sure they did. Mercury Steam is a.
I know. Okay, they had to have done the Metroid 2 remake on
Yes, they did.
3DS.
They did do
Yes.
Samus Returns. Yes, they did do Samus Returns.
Which isn't as good as another Metroid 2 remake, but that's neither here nor
No, it is not, and I can vouch for that because I've played both.
Yes,
Um,
same. Yeah.
But I
It's a
think
good
Metroid
effort.
Dread.
It's a good effort.
Yeah,
but
right.
it-
I think Metroid Dread is better than both of those games.
oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is the one thing I would say, and it might be its greatest strength to some people. It's too short. It is too
Yeah.
short. It feels like it needs to be longer.
Sure.
And I think if it were harder, it would help with that. But the game feels a little slight. I don't think they should have charged full price for it, but it's Nintendo. What are you gonna do? This should have been a $40 to $50 game instead of
Yeah.
a 61 when it came out. But what you're getting with this is just the best Metroid game in the series. Like it's better than any Metroid game besides Super Metroid.
I love
it is that good.
Love the design of the antagonist enemies. The
Yeah, the Chozo guys. Yeah, those guys are sick. They
I've got
do
an
some.
amiibo of them, and I've got the amiibo
Yeah.
of the Samus from Metroid Dread as well. So
Yeah, for sure. And they do. They basically say at the beginning of this game, "This is Metroid 4."
yeah,
Like, they say at the beginning, like, "This is Metroid 4. We're calling it Dread. It's 4."
yeah,
Like they say it in the text crawl. So it is a direct continuation from Fusion and from
Fusion
Zero
is
Mission,
an
right?
amazing game. I love
Fusion's great. I love Zero Mission more personally. That's just me.
Oh no,
I love Zero
I've
Mission.
played
I
through
love
both,
Zero Mission.
and I
They're both
adore
great. They're
Fusion.
both great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both great games.
Fusion was my
played through
first
Zero
2D
Mission.
Metroid, so I'm probably a little bit biased. Besides, like the
So,
original
yeah.
Metroid, and the original, it doesn't hold up that great.
My first one was Super. That's just my first one.
yeah.
But yeah, Metroid Dread is so tight. Like they do interesting story stuff with Samus. You know, it being a continuation of 4, like or of the last one, I should say, and it being a fourth one.
yeah,
in name, basically, is really interesting for the character of Samus. They do some wild stuff in the ending of this game, for
I
sure.
love that ending. It goes crazy, but I don't care.
It
I'm
goes
here for it.
so hard.
I'm
It
here
goes
for it.
ridiculously
Yeah.
hard. Yeah,
If you
it's
feel like
awesome.
you feel like you're playing the wrong game towards the end, like, am I playing Doom?
Yeah.
Is this Metroid?
Yeah, they just they totally flipped the entire like game on
Yeah,
you
it's insane.
with story critical stuff. You're like, what am I even playing as?
Yeah, I can't
Like,
wait to see more of
Yeah.
this storyline because I love Prime,
it's-
but this is also really interesting. So
I could see them doing another Dread for sure, like
Yeah.
another version, like the Metroid 5. Like the Prime series is different, like it's a
Yeah.
different continuity, pretty much.
adore those games too, but
Yeah, and I think 4 Beyond's gonna be great. I just, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it falls in the timeline. I'm sure it's a weird Hyrule Historia-ification of Metroid games. Who knows? But whatever. I digress. It's Metroid Dread is the best 2D Metroid since Super. I don't think you can ever say it's better than Super Metroid. I really just don't think you can. But it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
That's fair. That's a good pick.
Yeah, and it's not made by Nintendo, which is nuts because it feels like a Nintendo game. So, like I said, they cracked the whip on the right things. That's my number 4 for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a spoiler alert. Animal Crossing's my 3. I've beaten that game 3 times, and I love it.
Fair enough.
I love the grind to kind of get through it, and we've talked about it at length for sure. But
It's a good game.
yeah, that's my 3.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your 3?
Yeah, my 3, I'm gonna give it to. I'm just gonna do the dual thing again. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep,
I'll allow it.
yep,
I'll allow
yep.
it. Yeah.
So Tears of the Kingdom, I'd say. I don't know. I don't know which one I like better. I love the Banjo
Tears.
Kazooie nuts and bolts mechanic that they add of building your own stuff. But at the same time, I didn't really utilize it that much. I was making the fan hover car and just flying.
Everybody,
everywhere.
yeah.
That's just what
The
you
fact
do.
that you can do it in the game is nuts. Like the fact that they made it run on a potato with that intricate of a system is fascinating.
I mean, people I've seen articles of people having college level physics courses utilizing the game engine to teach college level physics.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's
Yeah.
nuts. I adore Tears of the Kingdom personally. It is on my list as well.
Yeah.
It is so important to me, that game, and I've written about it. We've
Yep.
talked about it at length. Tears of the
You have a
Kingdom
great
is
write-up on
such
that.
an important game.
That-
Yeah, thank
don't
you. I
know
appreciate it.
Don't know if we've highlighted on the channel or not, but you definitely need to check that out on his Substack. So
Yeah, it's called The Birth of the Princess and Tears of the Kingdom. So, pretty emotional one to write for sure. But I get into
Falls
it.
reading through that. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a true story. It's what really happened, right? And it's barely about the video game. It's barely about the video game.
Yeah.
But it is about Zelda and how things kind of transpire, and we use video games to kind of like cope, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty powerful stuff.
That's
So
what we do as
Tears of the
gamers,
Kingdom is
so-
a very important game to me. Yeah, it's on the list for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that.
Yep. Yeah, but
Love
those are great games, and I mean, I adore Breath of the Wild as somebody who was kind of forced to buy a Switch after the failing Wii U. I was like, Nintendo's done for. Nintendo over. They're gonna get bought by Xbox or Sony, and
It was a dark place you were at.
Oh
dark
my
place.
gosh. Because I was just so upset about the Wii. I love the Wii U, and so they just decided
Dude, you
to
were
stop.
so Wii U. Like,
I was the Wii U guy. Yeah.
I remember when you got the Wii U. We played
Yeah.
Nintendo Land like crazy. It's the
Yeah.
only game you had.
Yeah.
We played that, Link's Crossbow Training. Like, that's all we did that first time. And it was great.
Yeah.
We had a
It was
great time.
But they just not enough people bought into it. There was
Yeah.
not enough support from third parties, not enough support from Nintendo themselves, and like the support they
good
did
games on
have,
there.
like there were a lot of great games on there for sure, and I'm glad that most of those games have made their way onto Switch over the
They have.
years.
I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles X is the cutoff. Like, there's no
Yeah.
more games that they have not ported at this point. So, like, you
Except
don't need your Wii U
for-
ever.
Except for those HD Zelda remakes. Yeah.
They're going to put those on Switch too,
Yeah.
or people
And
will
of
literally
course,
riot.
Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land. It's probably a game that only really works on the Wii U, but
It does.
man,
Yeah.
is that
It's a cool game.
It's a fun party
Cool
game
game.
for sure. I've played that game countless times. And just like last year, anytime I'd have people over for parties, we'd end up playing Nintendo Land, end up playing the Luigi's Mansion one, the Animal Crossing one, and the Mario one, and having blasts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was there when you got your Wii U, I want to say, and
yeah, yeah,
that was pretty
sounds
awesome.
right. Yeah.
I was like, dang, this
But
is sick. I didn't
they
even know
dropped
they had
that
a Wii
thing
U.
so quick, and
Yeah.
I was done with Nintendo, and I was working evenings at Walmart, and I got out of my shift ready to buy Breath of the Wild for the Wii U, but they were all out of copies. I'm like, well, I'm playing this game tonight. Like it's just not happening. I'm not missing this midnight release, so
Yeah,
I
for
picked
sure.
up a Switch, picked up Breath of the Wild, and oh man, that was fantastic game. I remember running my little guy over to the castle to fight Ganon. You know, it's like that scene in Doctor Strange. You know, Agamotto, I've come to make
Come
you
to
a
bargain.
deal. I've come to bargain,
Yeah.
or whatever his guy's name is. But that was me with Ganon. Ganon, I've come to bargain, and you know, I picked up any weapons I could find lying around in the castle. You know, run up there with my 3 hearts and my 1 stamina bar, and yeah, I got my butt kicked several times. But,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah, the game's like, go beat them.
I had so much fun just rushing to the final boss, and because I heard online I could do that, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm a Dark Souls player. That's what we do.
That's what that game allows. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, can you do that? Yeah, we're gonna allow you to do that.
We're gonna
Go do
allow
it.
you to do it. Go fight the final. Knock yourself out, and I did. I knocked myself out, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I had my fun challenging this guy. Now I'll just go play the game, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
And
They allow it, man. They just
that-
they go like, hey, go wild. Yeah.
that game is very special to me. But
Mhm.
so I don't know if I could put which one I would put above the other. It's really tough
Yeah.
choice because Tears of the Kingdom makes so many improvements on Breath of the
Mhm.
Wild, and
Yeah.
that Underdark, the underground area of Tears of the Kingdom was just such a fun experience for me. I explored that 100%. I enjoyed that portion of it a lot. That was like my perfect like open world experience right there, was that underground, just flying around in my little hover car with a little flashlight leaf attached to the front of it. You just shoot it on the front of it, and it just kind of stays there for a while. And
Yeah.
that was fun.
That's sick. Yeah. I Tears of the Kingdom is on my list, not Breath of the Wild. Not because I don't like Breath of the Wild. It's like what you said. There are more improvements
Yeah,
in Tears, and that's what makes it my number 2. Um, Tears of the Kingdom is my number 2 because of those improvements, because
Yeah.
the story is a lot better.
I gotta beat that final boss still. I haven't gotten around
It's- dude,
to it.
I gotta say, I love the way they handle Ganondorf in this game.
Yeah.
Most of the story comes in flashback, like
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, but the way they've designed Ganondorf, the way he appears in the game, the way he attacks you, the way he is throughout the game is really great. Like
Yeah.
he's the best. He's the best version of Ganondorf, I think, besides Ocarina
Yeah.
or Majora, or not Majora, or oh shoot, what am I
Twilight?
thinking of? Twilight, yes, Twilight.
Twilight Ganon's
he's-
hard
he's-
to beat. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I like Ganondorf and Twilight a lot, so I don't.
Twilight, he's so intertwined in that story. It's
Yeah.
different, right?
Yeah.
But I love that he's such a powerful force in Tears, and I love the years long struggle between him and like Rauru and stuff. And
Yeah,
I love that
stuff is
Rauru.
interesting.
I love that Rauru is your arm, like Link's arm.
Yeah.
It's
so
I
cool.
love that fight.
Yeah.
I love that fight between Rauru and Ganondorf when they kind of like fuse together. Oh my gosh, all the cutscenes like give me chills, especially when you go to the throne room and you fight his phantom, and he like stands above you and he like talks to you in his like decrepit form. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah,
Like
I
no
need
Zelda
to-
game's ever done this.
I need to get to that final boss area. I have everything I need
Yeah.
to go do it. I've done all the dungeons.
hard.
I've
It's
done
so
the
hard.
entire Underdark, like I was saying, but
Yeah.
I just never got around to doing that final boss. So.
Mm-hmm. It's, and I've had issues with it in the past where I might have even talked about it on the pod where the Switch's deficiencies can't make up for how cool it would be.
Yeah.
To do the fight well. Like it hitches enough where you need to be precise, like in the game, so you get hit accidentally when you shouldn't.
Sure.
And that's the Switch hardware not being able to keep up.
Yeah.
But when you can get a full run going and everything's going well, like on that final boss, it's brutal, it's hard, it's difficult. It's so good. It might be the best boss fight they've ever made besides Demise in Skyward Sword. That boss fight's amazing too. I even the Wind Waker boss fight. That's also top Ganon fight. Ganondorf. Yeah, it's better in every way than Breath of the Wild. I think it fixes the weapon degradation issue where you can just make your own weapons now and you are never without, pretty much, because you have a bunch of items throughout the game. The crafting system is insane. Most people end up doing the default fan motorcycle thing, but the fact that you still have to interact with it in the shrines is really cool.
Oh yeah, the shrines are really
like you still have to, like, even if you bypass it, like you still have to learn how to do it.
And those shrines have always just been like so sandboxy too. Like there's a million ways to solve them. I still remember in the first game, like they had those shrines where you had like the ball and you had to like solve the maze. I'd always just flip it upside down and just do it without doing the maze. Yeah, you have
to like flip the ball over, catch it, and then dump it back on the. I just did this recently too. I was like, I remember how to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not doing the maze. I'm just flipping the thing over. Yeah.
Yeah, but Tears of the Kingdom is my number 2. It's fantastic. Before I talk about my number 1, 2, when you get your number 2 done, I'll do some like honorable mentions before I talk about my 1. But what's your number 2?
My number 2.
I know what it is.
Super Mario Odyssey.
I did not. I know what your number 1 is now. But yeah, Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I gotta give this game my number 2. It's such a clean game. Oh my
perfect
gosh.
Game. It's a perfect game.
We love this game on the Stick Drift podcast. This is
a perfect game.
I don't think I don't know how they're gonna top this game, but
they're going to, and it's gonna blow our minds. But I can't imagine what they would do.
And
put 2,000 moons in it, dude. Do it.
Give
ready.
us our 2,000 moons. For Switch 2, 2,000 moons. Like,
yes, dude. Yes.
800 was a nice number. It was a nice round number, but 2,000. I mean, let's just get there.
I got 999, so my balloon was gold.
Oh,
all right,
I
bought the moons.
No. He bought the coin pass. He bought the moon pass.
I did the moon grind in Bowser's Castle, where I did the coin run
DLC.
Yeah. I did the coin run in the Bowser's like samurai castle, where you're like you get those little birds that like at the beak, they try to like peck at you. You could go into a pipe where it gets you to a kind of an auto scroller, and you get 1,000,000 coins. And I was just doing that until I could buy all the moons until I decked it out and got the gold. And I was like, I have completed this game 100%.
Yeah, I was just listening to a YouTuber talk about the Elden Ring DLC just recently, and they were talking about how you can use the spirit fragments or whatever to upgrade your spirit ashes, but also upgrade your horse, like its armor and things like that. Like, yeah, they finally did the horse armor DLC.
Funny. Ring. I didn't know you could do that in the DLC. That's crazy. But so your number 2 is Mario Odyssey, dude. Like,
yeah, it's a good game.
Perfect video game.
It's
so good.
I mean, I love all of the 3D Marios, adore them, every single one of them. But Odyssey is just such a tight game to play through, and like it feels like you're never wasting your time just running around.
You're never bored.
Moons. Yeah.
No.
And like you completing the game, like beating Bowser, that's not the game. You got to get those moons. You got to do the moon hunt.
Yes.
That's the game.
All the interesting ideas is in that stuff.
Yeah. All the interesting ideas is on the post game collecting those 800 moons just to collect
Yeah.
them, not for any sort of story reason, not because you have to, just because you feel like it.
Yeah, and so the 3D Mario's have the extra hard levels at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
The darker side of the moon challenge is so hard. It took me a long time to finish that level. Like the final run,
Yeah.
going through like the lava pits and everything was crazy.
Yeah.
Very difficult to do, very precise, but the game is so dialed in.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing right, like it's going to keep up with you. That game runs at 60, I think. It's beautiful. Beautiful game.
It's a masterpiece
Yeah.
of optimization for the Switch, and it was so early in the Switch's life cycle too. It's insane.
Yeah, it's literally the first year, it and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I remember buying this
It
from my
runs
friend,
so much
and we
better than
talked
Breath of
about
the
it.
Wild too. So
It does, yeah. Excuse me. It's a different game though. It's doing different things for
Yeah.
sure. It's less hard, it's less hardware intensive, software
Yeah.
intensive, whatever you want to say. But yeah, I remember buying this game from my friend, and we chatted about it and played it while he was on shift, and it was great. It was so fun. And since I'm talking about it here, spoiler alert, that's my number one. That's my number one game, Mario Odyssey. I know what your number one is. That's my honorable mention, or that's my number one.
Yeah.
Since we talked about it here, I'll move to my honorable mentions
Sure.
before you say your number one.
Sure.
I want to highlight more Nintendo games for sure, but a game that you should play is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Oh,
This game is so good.
no.
No. Listen, this game is
okay.
great.
Okay.
This game is great. And the Donkey Kong DLC, one of the best pieces of DLC I've ever played. Donkey Kong plays amazing in this game, dude.
Nice.
Like, I didn't get into the Sparks of Hope that much, but Kingdom Battle, like, I just plugged away at this game just off and on for like a half a year. Oh my gosh, I was playing it during D&D sessions and stuff when people's turns were going or whatever.
Yeah.
It was probably pretty disrespectful of me. I don't care.
Well,
it was great.
Some people take
It was
too long
great.
of turns in D&D.
Yeah, dude, like we were getting to the point where I was just like, you know what, we're gonna do 2 rounds a night. I'm gonna sit and play this, So fun. The tactics are really good. It's made by Ubisoft. The Rabbids suck. They make them optional characters in Sparks of Hope, which is a bummer, because in the first one they don't. But all the Mario stuff is great. The Rabbids, they don't quite gel with the Mario flavoring, but it's an interesting crossover. The story is non-existent. No one cares. There is some voice acting in it, which is weird, and there's even more in Sparks of Hope. But that first one is just so good. The end of that game is like optimizing your turns and stuff, and it's as hard as you want it to be, as easy as you want it to be. It's one of the best tactile games you could play on the Switch for sure. It's up there for me. The next honorable mention I have, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Don't miss this game. This game is awesome, and it took me a while to really get a hold of what it was. You're like, oh, this is a fun Kirby character platformer, but like with all Kirby games, some kind of serious stuff happens at the end. Like weird amounts of story kick in, and you're like, what the hell's happening? Like the Kirby fights a space alien in this game that is like he's been kind of sprinkled throughout the story, this and that, infecting like parts of the game. But you fight like this Akira monster at the end of the game. You fight this like super powered lion character that you fight, and then you transition to an alien like incubator, and then at the end this alien achieves like godhood, and you have to fight him when he's a god. And Kirby, like, it's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Like Kirby in the Forgotten Land, that boss fight like kind of floored me. I was like, what is going on?
Kirby always has interesting
Crazy.
like final boss
But
beats.
but listen, this is even crazier what they normally do. Like it's
Yeah.
crazier. I can't stress enough how wild the end of this game is. It took me completely by
Yeah.
surprise.
The
Because
last-
it's always like, oh, there's a cosmic force, whatever.
Uh-huh.
This feels super like that, yeah.
Yeah, the last 2 Kirby games that I really liked were Superstar and on the SNES. And,
Yeah, Superstar's great.
It's a fantastic game, amazing game, and
Love it. Love the look of that game, especially.
Yeah, very stylized
Oh,
for a SNES game.
The best. It might be my
Awesome.
favorite looking SNES game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Love that
well.
game.
It doesn't
You can just
like it hasn't aged at all. It just
No,
hasn't aged
it
at all.
hasn't. It looks just as good as when it came out. You
Yeah.
could just like eat that game, dude. It's just like
Yeah.
I could just eat it. It's so gorgeous.
And then
Uh,
Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, probably one of my favorite
yes. Oh
Metroidvanias
yes.
as well. Like
The
I don't
best
know why they never
EVA,
went back to
yeah.
the Metroidvania formula for
I know.
Kirby. It worked so
Yeah.
well in Amazing Mirror. Like
Oh, Amazing
that's
Mirror.
just a great place for those games to be. They're just like a
Such a good
casual
GBA game.
Metroidvania for you to just run through. But there was even like pretty difficult portions in Amazing Mirror for a Kirby game. So those were the last two that I really got into. I just wasn't too interested in Kirby when Forgotten
understandable for
City
sure.
came out. So.
For sure. The last honorable mention I have, and this is the best hidden gem on Switch. And it's not even that hidden. It's a big game. Luigi's Mansion 3 is the best Luigi's Mansion game.
Oh.
It's not even close. Not even close.
I really like that original game.
It is so much better than the original, dude.
Uh-huh.
So much better than 2.
I don't know.
It is one of the best Nintendo games I've ever played. It is so good. It's not as good as the games I have on this list. I think if I could switch any of them, it would be it for Metroid Dread maybe. But I still like Dread more, just because it's more of my type of thing. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a long game. It never gets old. It's so fun to play. The animation work that Next Level does is unbelievable. Like, they are like the peak of their powers here. Next Level Games is. They're an American studio that was bought by Nintendo to make Nintendo games. They are a first-party studio. I forget what other games Next Level has made. They made Luigi's Mansion 2 for sure. But they, excuse me, they're like Retro. They're American-based Nintendo studio, and they just, man, is this such a good game? It's so good. Like all the Luigi stuff. I think they have Luigi in Luigi's Mansion 2 as well. But the Luigi stuff, the puzzles you can get up to, really great. Every level is a different biome. And there's like a bunch of levels to this hotel. So it's not just a mansion, it's like a whole hotel. So imagine Luigi's Mansion stacked on each other 4 or 5 times. That's what Luigi's Mansion 3 feels like. It's also a great Halloween game. It's the perfect, cozy, like low stakes Halloween game. Love this game. It would have made my list if not for Metroid Dread, probably. Sure. It's that good of a game. You need to play it if you haven't known, for sure. Yeah. So, and that's my list, dude. What's your number one? I think I know what it is.
I want to give a few honorable mentions.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know if you had any honorables.
No,
go ahead.
I got them. So,
do it.
I guess we'll start out with we'll just put these at the same sort of mention. They're different games, but Mario Wonder and Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury
that counts.
Mario Wonder.
Bowser's Fury counts.
Were great. Bowser's Fury was a great tech demo. Like, it was so much fun. I think I completed it in a single evening. I still remember my my roommate at the time in college. He was like, the game had just released, and I got it on release night, and I was playing it. He's like, "Didn't this game just come out? You look like you're speedrunning it." And I'm like, "Oh, I've played a Mario game before." And that was like our inside joke for like a long time. I've played a Mario game before. Anytime like I do something proficiently, I'm like, yeah, I've played a Mario game before.
Nice.
So we had a lot of fun with that. But
that's awesome.
that game was fantastic to run through. It just felt like the right direction for a Mario in the future. Like, no loading screens, just
open zone Mario.
Yeah.
They should just do that, man. They should just do that.
I mean, they should just do it to where like you're walking like to the next zone as you're playing through it.
Seamless level transition, everything.
Yeah,
they really should.
Yeah. But Wonder is a really, really unique 2D Mario. That was pretty much like the debut for the new voice actors for the Mario cast. After Martinez stepped down, probably a little bit forced to step down, but we won't get into that.
They wanted to move him out of that role because he was getting kind of up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was also like a little bit of a sore spot that he wasn't cast for the movie as Mario, but
I mean, they kind of hinted it in the actual movie with Chris Pratt going like in the commercial, "It's me, Mario." Like, would you want to hear that for 90 minutes? I don't think so.
no,
Um,
no,
so it's fine. I don't
yeah,
hate the direction they went in, but anyway,
no.
continue.
But yeah, it's a great 2D Mario. Like it's just it
Yeah.
has all the right elements to mix up the formula. The
Hmm.
the Wonder Seed,
Yeah.
levels are super fun and imaginative,
Super fun.
and
Hmm.
the way they change the gameplay and the levels, and I love the singing piranha plants, and it's just a fun time.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. I think Wonder, like, I don't think about Wonder as much as I feel like I should. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed my playthrough of Wonder.
yeah,
It might be an Odyssey situation for me, like if I went back and did everything, did all the Wonder
mm,
Seeds, finished it all, if
sure,
I'd have a better appreciation
yeah.
for it.
I never did
Um,
all of the Wonder Seeds or
yeah,
anything, so
I really like that. It was no shot to get on my list because of the amount of great games the Switch has.
right, yeah.
But it's the best 2D Mario since I would say probably World. It's better than all the new
Mm,
stuff, like the new Super
yeah,
Mario stuff.
I
It
think I'd
probably
have
would
to
be. It
agree.
probably would be World. I
Yeah.
prefer Super Mario Brothers 3 to World personally. That's me. I
Yes,
know that's a
Super
crazy thing
Mario
to say.
Brothers 3. No, it's better than
I
World.
love
It's
3.
better than
I
World.
love
Here
3.
on the
Ugh,
Stick Drift podcast, that's our opinion. It's better than World. World is a fantastic, great game, but 3
it is.
is the pinnacle of Mario. Like
I have played
2D
3 like
Mario doesn't get any better
15 times,
than
dude.
3. It's such a great
I
game.
just if I get bored with video games, I play 3 and I get
Yeah,
my love back. I'm not even
yeah,
joking.
that's a
Beaten
great
it
game.
15, 16
Just
times. I
play it
love
on
that. Love that. Love that game.
Archipelago Randomizer. There you go. They've got it
Ah,
on
that'd be
there.
fun.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to get a better understanding, like do the warp whistles and stuff
Yeah,
before
no,
I
that's
did
cool.
that. But I was really wanting to play that before my backlog stuff. I was jumping into. It. I was like, I should just play Mario 3 again. you
Mario
know,
3.
yeah, Mario 3 is great. Yeah, sorry,
No,
but
yeah, a funny anecdote with that as a side note. Back on the
yeah,
Wii Virtual Console, my my mom was like, when I was a kid, she was like, "Oh, you keep buying games. You need to complete a game." And so she's like, "You
yeah,
need to complete that Mario Brothers 3 game." I'm like, "Yeah, sure,
yeah.
okay." And so that was what pushed me to complete that for the first time, so I
Nice,
could
nice.
buy games again.
That's so funny. That's
Yeah,
that's
it was
actually a
a
great motivator.
yeah, no, it was a great game though. Like it was a great experience
Yeah.
playing through it. Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, complete one of the best games ever made." You're
Yeah.
like, "Easy,
Okay,
done,
easy.
not a
Yeah.
problem."
Not a problem. Yeah. No, that Bowser fight's
Yeah,
pretty fun. It's pretty tough too if you
that
don't
is a
know
good
what
Bowser
you're doing.
fight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
But
will say, it's a better
I didn't
Mario game
abuse
simply.
save states either because that's not what a real game
No, yeah, I
does.
played when I played on a virtual console or whatever
Yeah.
we call it, and
Yeah.
so I just play it through. I have
Yeah.
enough muscle memory to play that.
Yeah.
It's better. It's a better Mario game simply because Yoshi's not in it.
That's right. That's right. We hate
Yoshi's a
Yoshi.
freaking vehicle, bro. You jump off
Well,
of him and throw him in
yeah,
a
and he
pit.
evades
That's
his
all you do.
taxes too. He's not very patriotic, so
Oh well, I mean, Big Yoshi. He's tax evasion for sure.
we do like Big Yoshi though. He's kind of
He ate
cool.
all of his W-2 forms.
Yeah, and we like Boshi too. Boshi's kind of cool.
We love Boshi. Yeah,
He's cool.
yeah,
Big Yoshi's cool. Boshi's cool, but just little like regular tax evading Yoshi, we don't really like him that
yeah.
much.
Oh yeah, no, we love that guy. Any other honorables?
Yeah, the Switch is just loaded with honorables. I mean,
Oh, it's so
we've
good,
got
dude.
Splatoon 2 and 3. I mean,
Okay.
fantastic, fantastic shooters. Like I adore these
I
games.
never
Especially
really got
3.
into those.
3
Never
I
really
had
got
a
into 'em.
lot of fun with. 2 I had a lot of fun with as well, but 3 like it just brings everything to the next level. That's like where that game formula needs to be at. I've done
Yeah.
all of the single player campaigns for every single Splatoon game and the DLC campaigns. The DLC campaign for 2, I never got around to the one for 3, sadly, but
Yeah, I hear they're really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
the campaigns are awesome. The gameplay's awesome. They're just great games.
You and I played a fair amount of 2.
Yeah.
We played that
Yeah.
off and on for a while. That was really fun.
Yeah,
We probably played about what 7, 8 hours of that together.
Yeah.
A fair amount. I really liked it. I never got into it. If like a Splatoon 4 came out, which it will, because it's
Mhm.
Japan, We'll probably play that too.
I want
on
to
the
get
Switch
into
too.
it even more so
Yeah,
than I did
I
with
think I would
3.
probably jump feet first into it. I
Yeah.
wonder, do you think they'll ever remaster original Splatoon? Do you think they will? I don't think so.
They brought back the old lobby in the DLC of
Okay,
3, and I think
but
that's
like,
about
didn't
as
it?
close as a remaster as we're gonna get.
So the campaign for one, is
Hmm.
that in any two or three or anything? Like
No,
that's what I'm saying. Like, would they bring those
I
campaign
don't
levels back just for people to
think
play
they
them?
need to. Maybe
Okay,
it'd be interesting, but they're fun. But I don't
okay,
think I'd really need to play through that again. Like I got my
okay.
enjoyment
Yeah,
out of it the first time.
I hear the Octo expansion stuff is really good.
Yeah, the
So
Octo expansion stuff was really fun to play through.
yeah. What's the last one? The last course is what the new three
I
stuff is called,
think
right?
so. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've.
It's almost like a roguelike from what I understand. So like
Oh,
it's
that's actually interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
it's got like a lot of like gameplay shakeups. So
You still play as an Octoling there too?
well, you can play as either, I think. Yeah, because
Okay,
in
can you?
3,
Okay.
this base game, you can choose between
Oh.
Squid or
Okay.
Octoling in the base game of 3. So
Oh,
yeah,
in three, yeah, because two's
yeah.
not like that. Interesting.
No,
Okay.
no. 2, you have to
Interesting.
complete like that Octoling DLC. I'm pretty sure before you unlock Octoling for the online. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so
Okay.
Splatoon franchise. I mean, I know lots of people who love it. I know people who play in tournaments regularly. It's
Mm.
it's a it's a pretty booming community. People love the
Yeah.
game.
Do you guys have any arms friends?
What? What?
Nobody plays arms?
No, that game is.
No.
We don't talk
I've
about
never
that
played.
game.
I've never really played arms. Well, that's not
I
true. I played the
mean,
demo. I'm like, maybe
the
not.
the worst offense that Arms did was putting Min Min into Smash Bros. I mean,
Min Min looks really cool though. I love that design. Min Min
it's a
looks
cool design, but man, is the character annoying to
What
play
about
against.
Twintel? Bring her. She's big. She's big
Oh
lady. She got
yeah,
actual arms.
yeah.
It's her
People like
hair
her.
that's got the arms.
Yeah, a lot of people like her.
Yeah.
But
So that begs the question: what is Twintel in relation to like a Min Min? Because Min Min's like a robot compared to her, right?
no, I think they're
'Cause
all
she's got the.
robots.
Are they all robots? Because
Yeah.
Twintel's got the arms. So
No, but I think they're all robots.
it's called arms,
So
but it should be called hairs because she uses hair.
yeah, I don't.
That's
I
just one
never.
character.
I never actually bothered playing the game, so
What about the lore? That's all I ask.
I don't know. I don't know anything about the lore.
Okay, sorry.
A couple
Continue.
more Switch honorable mentions is for games
please.
that were Switch exclusive but got ported away, third-party games. We'll just put Rise and Octopath Traveler here. Played a
Yep.
ton of these games on Switch, adored them.
Monster
but,
Hunter Rise, that is. Yeah.
Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise and Octopath Traveler, great games, but they got moved away
Yeah.
from Switch, so they're not exclusives
Well,
anymore.
Octopath was exclusive for a long
Yeah,
time. to
very
Switch,
long
so-
time. Yeah, and I played a ton of it. I mean, I 100%ed that game on Switch. So
I'm surprised they haven't brought forth like a Triangle Strategy or anything.
It's on
that's
PC.
interesting.
Triangle Strategy's on PC.
It's on PC, but it's not on new consoles. I wonder if they'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
okay, so
yeah, I'd say that's about it for my honorable mentions. Besides Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 is a good game.
Dark
It's a really
Souls
good
one.
game.
Yeah, that's a good version of that game too.
Yeah, the Switch version's really fun to run through. Just it's so portable
It is-
that I can play Dark
Yeah.
Souls 3 anywhere I want. It's great. Or Dark Souls
I'm
3
pretty sure
anywhere
it's
I
just the 360 version though, isn't it?
want. No, it's remastered.
It is remastered. Okay,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know.
remastered. Yeah.
Okay.
Remasters has
Yeah.
its faults, but it's pretty
Yeah,
decent.
I got to Ornstein and Smell on Switch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
played
then
for
you
a minute
died
of that
too
too.
much.
Yeah, well, I was just like, I played Dark Souls. You know, who hasn't played Dark Souls?
I can't stop playing Dark Souls. That's my issue. But
It's a great game.
That's a
One
great
of the best ever.
all right, but
That is such a fun. Before you continue with your last one, that's such a fond memory I have with you. Is just commiserating about us playing Dark Souls 1 for the first time on 360 and
I
so
ran
fun,
through
dude.
with that stinking halberd. That weapon was so dog water, but I was
Yeah, you
determined
were
to
like,
run
I love
through
the
it.
halberd. I'm
I
like,
love the halberd. You're like, why are you using the halberd? There's like flame swords and stuff. I'm like, no, I got the halberd. We're using the halberd, man.
Yeah,
I can
I
do a
think I ran
spin
through-
attack.
yeah. I did a strength build, and I used Haviland as Dragon Tooth. the entire
Yeah,
time.
you were
That was
using
fun.
a good weapon, and I was like, nope,
Yeah.
I gotta use the halberd, man. This is my bread and butter. I've literally never touched the halberd again after that playthrough. It's
So funny.
so bad. I think
I
I'd rather use
switched
a broken
to
sword.
I switched to an axe and then Smau's armor because it's the best armor in the game, like heaviest.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I basically leveled an axe, just a random axe all the way up, beat the game. Like I love that about Dark Souls 1. You can just pick a playstyle and just run with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, your last game. What's up?
Yeah. Fire Emblem Three Houses.
No way!
Yeah.
No way! Of
Yeah.
course it is.
I
It
gotta
couldn't be
give
anything
it.
else.
Like,
Well, you don't like Engage more? Come on.
Engage is a good game. Probably should have talked about it in honorable mentions, but it's a good
Yeah.
game. But
It is a
it's
video game for sure.
It's not a very good story. It doesn't have very interesting characters.
Tell me
and
about
it's
the
kind of a
Dragon
train-
Mother.
Yeah,
Please.
it's kind of a train wreck of a game story wise, and it's really hard to divorce the story from the gameplay in that game because that's really like
Yeah.
your big motivator for playing through a Fire Emblem game.
But I want to talk
and the
about
characters.
T. Can I talk about T?
You can talk about T in
Oh,
Fire
yes, I
Emblem
know you
Three
can.
Houses. Because Fire
You can
Emblem
have
Three
T with
Houses,
the Death Knight. Yeah.
You can have tea with anyone you want. Yeah, you can have tea with I think his name is like Yaritza.
Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. All the characters in Three Houses are just it's a fantastic cast. I think it might
I
be
have
one
to
of the
finish
best,
it, yeah.
if not the best Fire Emblem cast. And this is coming from somebody who's played like every single Fire Emblem game. And I adore Fire Emblem. It's my favorite Nintendo franchise. Besides maybe Kid Icarus Uprising. I don't know. Those two are like neck and neck
Man,
for me. I
deep
adore
in your
the
bag for
characters.
those.
I adore the characters in Kid Icarus Uprising. I adore the interactions between the characters. They gotta bring it back. Please, Sakurai, give me Kid Icarus Uprising.
Please,
I'm
the man has a
begging you.
family.
I'm
The
begging
man has
you.
a family.
I need to be able
Think
to
of
talk
the-
about this game on the show extensively.
Think of the children.
Yeah,
Think of the
I need
children.
this guy to play through Kid Icarus Uprising
Oh
so
my
he
gosh.
can enjoy it and adore it like I do. But Three Houses, it's a fantastic game. I love the idea of the different warring factions all like being from the same school that like tries to teach them to respect each other and to coexist, only for the real world to hit and be like, yeah, I know that peace was never an option, like that.
Yeah.
Everyone has very important reasons for going into this war, and Dimitri and Edelgard especially are very, very, very compelling lords with very compelling reasons for what they do. And they have such interesting character arcs, especially Dimitri. He has so many layers underneath the typical blonde-haired, blue-eyed, protagonist lord. Like, he completely sheds that in the second half of the game, and it's just so interesting what they do with those characters. And don't even get me started with probably my favorite of the Lord's Claude. Like, oh man, his
Really? I didn't know he was your favorite.
Yes, that was the first house that I went through, was the Golden Deer. Yeah, I picked Claude right away because I knew like there's something interesting about this guy. He's he seems like the side character, but he's hiding something interesting. And
That's
my
how it
gosh,
feels,
it's
like,
so
yeah.
interesting with him. Like we talk about with like how much we love metaphor. Like the struggles between like the different tribes and the different like that's represented with Claude as well. Like they do such a good job of representing like the different how like Fodlan treats his home country of Elmira as like a lesser country, and the people as like lesser people. Like, it's such an interesting, but Claude's here like, no, I'm gonna actually like take over like Fodlan, and make it to where they have to respect Elmira, and so it's so interesting.
That is cool.
Yeah, and I just love merchant alliances as well. Like, I love merchant alliances in like history and like in strategy games and things like that. So I adore the idea of the Leicester Alliance being just like, yeah, this mercantile alliance of just rich nobles that are like, yeah, no, we don't have a like central leader really or anything. We're just like a bunch of guys with a ton of money, and so we get to do what we want. Such a cool mercantile republic. That's the word. Yeah, I love those. But yeah, each character has so many layers of depth in Fire Emblem Three Houses, and that's like I've done all this talking. I haven't even talked about the gameplay. The gameplay shakes up the Fire Emblem formula so insanely well. It makes it to where you feel like every single character is overpowered, but you also feel like every enemy is overpowered to match that. Like Fire Emblem games always give you tools to like breeze through them, but in this game, like you get the tools to breeze through them, but your enemies get the same tools, and so you really feel like you're on an even playing field with the enemy units.
Interesting.
And so they try and capture that in Engage by like giving some of the bosses extra health bars and things like that, and that does help. But I just don't think that they do as nearly as good of a job as Three Houses and like upping the stakes, right?
Yeah, the push and pull is even ground, like you said. I think that's really interesting. It makes your tactical advantage lessened, but it makes you more like concerned with what you're doing on a turn-to-turn basis.
Yeah, and I absolutely adore like the monstrous enemies. They feel like raid bosses at times for your whole army to just chip away at. I'm a little bit biased towards like monstrous creatures in Fire Emblem because I adore probably my favorite Fire Emblem game besides Three Houses is Sacred Stones, and that one's the one that is all about fighting monsters. You literally fight Satan at the end of that one, so like
nice.
Yeah, it's great.
That's sick.
But yeah, so Three Houses, fantastic strategy game. I think the only thing that holds it back a little bit is like the grinding that you have to do in like the monastery stuff, like that constantly going back to the monastery and checking up on all your students and picking up random items. Yeah, it's but it's not even like streamlined like a Persona. Like you have to do like so many little tasks that it gets a little bit too much. They have a little bit too many like filler tasks because the game isn't very long for having like 4. Like, if you took out the monastery stuff, the gameplay time wouldn't be very long. But the monastery, like, systems of, like, raising your students is really interesting. I do like that because you can build them essentially however you want to. You can choose to explore different paths and, mess around with, like, things that your students might not be so great at or might just be average at, so... yeah, it's a really well-made game.
That's probably like my pile of shame. Like that's the one I need to finish before the Switch 2.
Yeah, you can just pick a route and like you're gonna be amazed. I think the weakest route is probably Silver Snow, but even that route has its interesting moments, and it's only because it just doesn't have like the central figurehead of a Lord character to really tie it all together. That's the only route where you don't have like a Lord character. So.
Awesome. That's your number one. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I need to get around to playing Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes so I can see more of these characters and
cool.
Check out they have new designs. I was going to talk a little bit in my honorable mentions about the only like Musou game I've really actually liked, which is Fate Extella, the Umbral Star.
Right. You were way into that game. I remember that.
Yeah, I was huge into that game. Played that a ton on the Switch. It's on other things too, I think, now. But that was like the only Musou game I really ended up liking. I tried Hyrule Warriors. Didn't really like that. I tried the original Fire Emblem Warriors. Didn't really like that, which is sad because I was really hyped for that. But I do need to give Three Hopes a try. I've heard it's like better than the original Fire Emblem Warriors, and I adore the characters in Three Houses. So
sweet. Yeah, that's a list. That's a list for me. A list for you. Yeah, that feels good. It's nice to look through the window at the Switch life cycle and go like, man, That might be pound for pound the greatest
Yeah,
system ever.
it's a
it just
tough
feels that way.
choice, really tough choice between Three Houses and Odyssey, but
Yeah,
both
I
are just
understand. It's
fantastic
tough.
games. Yeah,
Yeah, Odyssey is. I mean, I got that at my number one. You got yours at number one. I mean,
yeah.
I think those speak. I think that speaks to the versatility of the system as
Yeah,
a whole.
a strategy RPG and a 3D platformer. Like,
Yeah.
Switch has it all. Switch has it all, and there's just
does.
so many remasters, remakes, ports, everything you can think of. They have everything on the Switch. And
Yeah.
Switch 2 is going to
Yeah.
carry that over, and it's insane.
It is. It's gonna be awesome.
just
It's
insane.
gonna be awesome. I'm
Yeah.
so stoked for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
That's yeah. It's a really good topic. I'm excited to hear back and go like, oh, what games did I miss? I'm like, oh, obviously this one. I mean, there's gonna be something, I'm sure. But yeah, since we went on at length about that, let's just close it out with a couple things we've been watching, I guess.
Sure.
Because we are going pretty late. I think we hit 4 hours. So,
Close. To
yeah,
it.
I'll just talk about a couple things I've been watching. I'm not going to even go at length really, but I caught up on Dan. Really like that.
Great
we
show.
talked about the ending of that.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, the show is really good. The humor just hit with me so hard.
I
I
love
love the introduction of Gigi too. He's so fun.
Yeah.
Love that show. Super good. Caught up with that. The ending of that season is very abrupt, so I'm excited to see what they do next.
Yeah. For sure.
It's coming back really quick though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that next season's like right behind us, right in front of us. I finished Creature Commandos on Max. It's like the first stage of the new DC universe thing. I recommend you watch that. It's good. It's like 7 episodes.
Cool.
It's a bunch of like no-name DC characters, like what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's also James Gunn doing it too, who also
Oh,
did Guardians.
yeah.
So
That makes
yeah,
sense. He's good.
the
at,
writing is
He's good at
Yeah.
bringing up those no-name characters. That's for sure.
yeah. I mean, I've never cared about the character Weasel, but I'll tell you, I did now. It's a really, really affecting show.
Nice.
Super well made, super good, very violent. I've almost caught up with all the secret level stuff. I'm like 2 episodes away from finishing that finally.
You gotta
I
watch
watched
the
this-
PlayStation episode. It's so good.
That's the one. I'm gonna save that one for last. I just finished the Spelunky one.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. I like that one. That was fun.
I like that one, and I loved the Unreal Tournament one. I know what you mean. That's a great one. Yeah. The whole Rebel.
Yes.
So good.
It's so good.
It's so good. And I know nothing about Unreal Tournament, but it's such
I
a
knew
good
nothing about it
vignette.
either, but I mean,
It's such a good vignette.
you know, sometimes
I'm like,
you
I had
just
to
need
shout
a
it
good
out.
rebellion, you know. Sometimes
Yeah,
you need a good rebellion.
the whole mining robots that rebel. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. If you haven't seen
Workers
Secret
Rise
Level,
Up.
watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch Secret Level before season 2 comes out. I highly recommend it. I only have the Armor Core one to do, then the Honor, whatever it's called, Honor blah blah blah, and then one other one. I'm like almost done. 15 episodes. It's kind of hefty for a show with short episodes. We're watching a bunch of prestige dramas. We're watching Severance, Silo on Apple TV. Those are great. Severance especially. It feels like a cultural show. Like everybody's watching Severance. Become the most watched show on Apple, like ever. Even over Ted Lasso. Severance is awesome. It's like can't miss TV, dude. You need to watch Severance. We're watching some trashy TV called The Traitors. I've probably mentioned this, but if you're in for like to turn your brain off and enjoy something stupid, The Traitors is it. And then for like to end it for dramas, we're watching Mad Men finally. It's been like one of those things where I'm like, okay, I want a good long show to kind of like pick away at.
Sure.
Mad Men's the one, and it's so cozy, so comfy, and it's like low stakes but high stakes. A lot of people talking in the rooms, you know. I kind of need that. Like I watch a lot of like high octane shows, like Arcane or whatever stuff that has a lot of like pizzazz and stimulation. It's nice to watch a lot of dudes in suits talk in a boardroom with some whiskey. It's all right. I feel like an adult watching that show. But my wife and I, we watch that 2-3 episodes a night. So that's all I've watched. Just a lot of quick hits. Really haven't really settled on anything like big besides Severance really for like current shows. So yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty brief. Been watching Solo Leveling Season 2.
Same
Great
here. I
so
forgot to
far.
mention that.
Yeah, great.
Very
great.
good. Very good.
I've read the manhwa and I love the series. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more. Dr. Stone Science Future, been keeping up with that. It's been a lot of fun. It's just a great, fun little series. it just gets so over the top. It's so much fun. But
Nice.
speaking of over
I recommend
the top,
the.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I recommend the manga. The art by Boichi is amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's
it's
really
fantastic series.
good.
But speaking of
Sorry,
over the
continue.
top, Sakamoto Days, that's over the top. Oh my gosh, every
Yeah.
single story, like every single moment of that show is just way out there over the top. I'm
Nice.
loving it. It's so good.
I hear it's really good. Is it only on Netflix?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
hmm
I was like, oh, surely it's on Crunchyroll. No, I think it's an original,
Yeah,
which doesn't
yeah, I
happen
think
very
so.
often.
Yeah. There's been
Um,
a few really good hits, Netflix original hits recently, like Dungeon
oh yeah.
Meshi. Dungeon Meshi was a
hmm
Netflix original hit for anime, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
adored that show. Oh my gosh, that was so good. You
I need to
gotta
watch
watch it.
Delicious and
You
Dungeon. I
gotta
know.
watch it. You gotta watch
I
it.
know.
It's
I
so
love it,
good.
dude. I love cooking. I love
Yeah, I
cooking. I love
know.
those
You're
shows.
gonna fall in love with it. I mean,
Yeah.
Senshi. You're gonna see Senshi, and you're gonna be like, oh man, this dude is awesome. He's a little dwarf guy.
Uh, Fun fact: since you introduced him to me, ProZD plays him in the English dub.
Ooh, okay, nice.
Yeah. The squat little guy with the Viking helmet
Yeah,
plays him. So
yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I need to watch that show. That's definitely on my
Yeah.
list. It's not a long show, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I've also been keeping up with Shangri-La Frontier season 2. That's a really fun um like they're in a VR game, but they're
Yeah.
not really
Yeah.
trapped there. They just like play the game and have fun with it. So it's really
I've been
interesting.
wanting to jump into that because I'm like, this looks
Yeah,
really good. I
it's
should
really
watch
good.
this.
It's
Yeah.
really good. I love,
Yeah.
love the very first episode's opening. That's the hook for me for the
Okay.
whole show. It's hilarious. It had me cracking up. The very first few scenes of the show is just hilarious. But
Yeah, it's hard for like, especially when it's like, I watch a lot of subs, not
mhm.
dubs. I try to watch more subs so I can like get a real feel for it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm rewatching something, it's different. Like we're watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'm watching
Mhm.
that dubbed now. I
Yeah.
watched that originally subbed.
That's what I do.
Um,
That's exactly what I do.
yeah. Since I'm rewatching it, same for Attack
Yep.
on Titan. I'm gonna watch the
Yep.
dub. Like I really want to get a flavor of it. I feel like Dan to Dan really hit that humor stuff for me like really good.
hmm
It's exciting whenever a show like is just instantly funny like
Yeah,
that.
that's how Sakamoto Days is too. Like I find
Sweet,
myself
sweet.
cracking up all the time with Sakamoto Days.
Love that.
You're gonna love that
Love that.
once you get around to it.
Yeah, I will definitely watch it. I'm gonna catch up with Solo, and then after that, it's kind of like whatever. So
Yeah, Solo's
yeah,
just
baby.
so cool.
Yeah, that's a podcast. What do you say?
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, that's a heck of a podcast. We talked about so much. Um, I'm gonna be excited to listen to the Switch talk for
yeah.
sure. I love top five, love top tens, all that stuff.
We
But
gotta do our own Watch Mojo top 10 at some point. So
yeah, welcome to Watch Stick Drift. That doesn't roll off the
it
tongue.
doesn't work out well.
No, we call it Iggy's top 10 balls.
Yeah, number
Yeah.
10, your
I'm gonna wreck it.
mother's.
I'm gonna wreck it. Just Iggy showing his, his gonads with a number 09 of 10, whatever.
Oh man,
It's like
they
tattooed on
didn't
there.
have those in the game. Yeah,
No, they didn't. They did not.
they didn't have enough polygons for it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the coming weeks, we're going to be working on some stuff. I'm going to work on the crash course for Doom. We'll see if I get it done. I don't know if it'll be a next week thing or what. From the time of us recording this, we're going to drop Stick Drift next week because backlog was this week, so we're filling that gap. So 2 weeks, maybe I can get all this done for sure.
Yeah.
It's a dreaded backlog for Doom, I should say. I want to do a crash course on my save point stuff. I've been meaning to do that. I got sick when I was trying to record it last time. I still intend to do that. It's not going to be a long one. It's going to be just a quick top 10 of my favorite save points in games. So stuff to look forward to for sure. We've almost done 10 of these Stick Drift podcasts proper. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. We're making a good run of it. So.
Oh yeah, I really enjoy just commiserating for sure. So. Yeah, I think the thumbnail for this is gonna be Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
Yeah.
I think it can't be anything else.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he
Well,
he made a good game. Iggy did
well,
in Iguanasoft. In the
I think we've
Iguanasoft
talked
update.
about enough about Iggy's Wrecking Balls. What do you think?
But
We can get rid of
Iguanasoft, I
him?
mean, or Iguana Entertainment, yeah, the iguanas that work
Yeah. Oh
there are
yeah.
pretty good at their craft.
I don't know why I find that so funny. You brought that up again. It's still very funny to me. I don't know why that tickles me so much. I'm like,
Think
iguanas
you
at a
just gotta think
computer.
of yeah. Like, what's an iguana gonna do at a computer? I had a pet iguana
I
as a
just see
kid.
the
Like,
Geico gecko, but there's like
yeah,
40 of them, and they're all walking across an IBM Dell
yeah.
computer.
Well, they're a little bit bigger than the Geico gecko. Like I said, I had
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, I had one as a pet as a kid. They're pretty cool. He used to like walk around our living room. Not a living room,
I
but
don't
like
think
our basement of our family room. Yeah, it
I remember your.
might have been before
Yeah.
I met you. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I
Really.
remember your turtle. He's still kicking, but yeah.
Yeah, the turtles we released those back to their natural
Oh.
habitat. Yeah. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were getting big too. Yeah.
yeah, we were releasing back to their natural habitat where we picked them up. So we're
Oh, okay.
A-okay
Let them
on
live
that.
their life.
Yeah.
It was a good 20-year run or whatever, right? And they're
Yeah,
like,
if
I
we
guess
had
we're going
them
back.
for 10 years or so. Yeah, it was wild.
Are you not turtly enough for the Turtle Club? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But all right, this
Oh,
is
so you
turning
won't laugh
into
at my joke, but I'll laugh at your freaking gecko joke or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Iguana
how it
joke.
works. The iguanas,
Dang.
yeah, they're very different than geckos, but
All right.
it's
For
turning
Steak
into
Drift.
a train wreck. So yeah, we gotta end this.
For Steak Drift, I'm Noah. He's Power. Later.
Wait, no, that's the wrong one.